Beyond the Waves is a Hail Hail Media production. It may contain sweary words, and adult situations may be discussed. If you're in the company of underage temps, turn up the show now and listen back later. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, email us at beyondthewaves67@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter at BTW Celtic Show, or you can join our group on Facebook at Beyond the Waves. Hail, hail, and keep the faith.
Out to the four brothers from Compton. You're almost there, but the FBI has a little message for you. Good luck, brothers.
Running like a nigga, I hate to lose. Show me on the news, but I hate to be abused. I know it was a setup, so now I'm gonna get up. Even if the FBI wants me to shut up, but I got 10,000 niggas strong. They got everybody singing my "Fuck the Police" song. And why they treat my group like dirt, their whole fucking family is wearing our t-shirts. So I'ma run till I can't run no more, cause it's time for MC Ren to settle the score. I got an urge to kick down doors in my grave like a slave, even if the rain pours.
Clouds are dark and brothers are high. Dick tickling, the funny motherfuckers are right. Started with 5 and Joe, one couldn't take it. So now it's 4 cause the 5th couldn't make it. The number's even, now I'm leaving, but never getting to by a bitch with a weaving. Burn the troops are right behind me.
Welcome to the Beyond the Waves Celtic Football Show. My name is Graham Wilson. Returning from my trip. I'll tell you what, it feels like it's been about a year since I came back. First off, I got sicker than you could possibly imagine when I was over. Probably something that I brought with me. The plane ride over probably didn't help. No sleep, walking around outside, etc., etc. Wound up with pneumonia. I can barely hear out of my right ear, but enough whining. I'll tell you what, it was worth it. I'd do it again. And wind up even sicker. Just for the opportunity to do it again. It didn't take anything away from the trip. It was absolutely phenomenal. And plenty to share with that on the show today. As well as talking about the result today. 5-0, Joe Ledley, captain once again. That's 3 games on the bounce where he's had the armband and comes out with a brace today. Scored a cracking goal last week as well. I think he fits perfectly into the captain's role in Scott Brown's absence. I'd like to see it consistently stay with Joe Ledley. I've sang his praises consistently over the past, and I want to continue doing that because I think it's very well worth it. And fantastic performance today. I was really glad to see Dylan McGeoch get the start and play so well and really just attack a header the way it's supposed to be done. He was tremendous. I thought he drifted in and out throughout the game, trying to find his way and feel his way into the game, really. It looked as though he felt more comfortable drifting into more of a central role. And, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But first, let's say hello to the Rev, joining us, as always, from Perth Amboy, New Jersey. Hail, Rev.
Welcome home.
Thank you very much, sir. What would you like to know? Let's start off with this. Let's start off by talking about my trip. I know you have to scoot on out of here in a little bit with Dose going to look at hotels and so on, all that wedding planning and it's just so much fun. But before we do that, let me have it. What do you want to know about Glasgow, Scotland, Edinburgh? I'm an expert now. Whatever you want to know, I will tell you.
All right. Why did Paul shave?
I said I'm an expert on Glasgow, Scotland, and Edinburgh, not Paul Larkin's grooming habits. I don't know. He was very clean cut. Obviously, shiny bald head on the top, as is the case with you. Although you're not Larry Dave would not consider you an accepted member of the bald community because you elect to shave your head. But nonetheless, I don't know. That we'll have to table that. I can certainly find out for you if that's something that's really burning.
I just saw the pictures he was posting with you and everything, and I'm like, who the hell is this? I'm like, oh, this is Paul. Well, he doesn't have his signature, goatee, so.
I just spent a week in Scotland. I saw a Celtic Champions League game where we were just robbed out of our skin by, as Paul would refer to, a Spanish prick of a referee that hasn't even started shaving yet. And you want to know why Paul shaved his goatee off. Really? Is that really what you want to know?
That's what's on everybody's mind, I'm sure.
Jesus fuck. Shout out to the Green Brigade as well. You might have noticed NWI opening the show today, and I think that's appropriate. I'd like to spend a considerable amount of time today as well talking about the Green Brigade. Just going over my trip, though. It's starting off, obviously, I'm terrified of flying. I had to fly on one of those little propeller deals, prop plane, whatever. And it really wasn't all that bad. I mean, I had a couple of whiskeys. First off, I get to the airport in Dulles, and I thought my plane the flight was canceled. I go, and on the board right there, flight, 4836 to Newark, canceled. And I'm like, you've got to be effing kidding me. I mean, literally, I'm running around hyperventilating. I haven't even started drinking yet. You know how high strung I am, Rev. So I go to United Airlines customer service. Now, keep in mind, this is also the weekend when Boston had their big blizzard. So everybody and their mother is in line trying to get up to Boston and et cetera, et cetera. I finally get up there. The lady says, yeah, that's weird. It's canceled. There doesn't seem to be a reason why. Let me make a call. So she calls down to the baggage people, or whoever the hell it is, the guys with the earmuffs, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, it's showing up canceled, but it's not canceled. I don't know why it's showing up like that. So she gets off the thing, and she's like, yeah, it's not canceled. It's not even late. It's on time. I'm like, well, why is the board still showing it as canceled? She's like, I don't know. So I go to the gate, and I'm like, I'm halfway not even expecting to get the plane. Because you know how it is. I mean, you know, the people at the airport, they don't know what the hell's going on. You're lucky to find somebody that speaks English. So I get down to the gate. Everything's up there on the board proper as it should be. The plane pulls up. It's got propellers, much to my disappointment. I was hoping, you know, maybe somehow I get a jet, but no such luck. So I run back to the bar, have a couple of like quadruple Johnny Blacks on the rocks, take my pills, and, you know, ready to rock and roll. Mind you, if this was anything other than going to see Celtic, going to Glasgow, there was no way I was getting on this plane. It really wasn't that bad. I'll be honest, at least on the way out. You know, we got to Newark, no problem. I flew right over you. I waved. You didn't wave back. I know you didn't. But I saw you in the friendly confines of Perth Amboy. Ran into a couple of guys. I thought there was going to be some of the Fenian boys, the Manhattan CSC guys, on the same flight as me. It turns out they were going through JFK. But I did run into a couple of Irish boys and then a quote-unquote Dunfermline fan who, you know, we got into
that?
Yeah, exactly. It's somebody who has a Dunfermline scarf just above their Rangers scarf in their drawer. But I digress. So shared a pint with them. You know, they obviously saw the scarf. I had the hooped Tammy. I guess they call it over there. Over here we call it a toboggan, maybe a toque or a ski cap. And obviously you can wear your colors over here. No shame in being a Fenian. So, you know, share a pint with them. The Irish boys, you know, were talking about Juventus and what the expectations were, and everybody was really positive. Of course, the Dunfermline fan, you know, Closet Hunt, of course, started talking about, you know, the fact that Rangers not being in the SPL is really detracted, and the attendances have been down because Rangers aren't. I said, what are you talking about? Rangers are dead. You should have seen the look in his face. I mean, it's just, and then he gets all bent out of shape, right? Like I'm giving it to him tight. And I said, wait a second, I thought you were a Dunfermline fan. All of a sudden, you know, I was throwing money down, getting his jacket on, off in a huff. So, bye-bye. I think they were flying through Edinburgh. So, anyway, make it through the flight, get on the plane, make it into Glasgow. It's about 7:30 in the morning when I land. Sitting, you know, I had an aisle seat, sitting next to a couple of delightful people from Paisley. As soon as I found out they were from Paisley, my scarf went into hiding. So, Paul meets me at the airport. So then I'm sweating bullets, like, okay, are they even going to let me through customs? You know, because you walk up there and they have two lines. They have, you know, if you're from the EU, and then everybody else, you know, goes into the separate line. Of course, everybody that was on that plane was from the EU. They were all probably Scots coming back from America. Not many Americans going over there. So I was like the second one in line, and they were stopping everybody in line, you know, looking at the passport, asking them questions, you know, making them get out of line and sit down, and the whole, and I'm like, they're totally going to, you know, just bust me or something, like, you're the Fenian bastard with the radio show. You sit over there. Or I'm going into some dark room, right? So I go up, and, you know, it's like one of these, like, come back to earth, you know. You're not as well-known as you think you are. I get up there. Lady looks at my passport. She says, right, so, you know, what are you doing in Scotland? I said, well, I'm just on vacation for a week. Oh, holiday for a week. And I'm just trying to American it up as much as I can, you know. And so she asked me, you know, like the typical questions. How long are you going to be here? Where are you staying? Et cetera, et cetera. Mind you, my scarf is still, you know, tightly hid in my jacket. So stamps my passport, lets me through. That's it. Simple as that. So, you know, it's like, okay, you know, we're in business here. So Paul comes by. We get a cab back into Glasgow, and it's like this decision that you make. You know, do you go back to sleep? Because I'm absolutely shattered. I barely slept on the plane at all. Maybe 3 or 4 hours. Or do you stay up? You know, so I just immediately was like, okay, let's just get after it so that I can hopefully punch through and beat the jet lag. So I went and had breakfast down by George Square, and then made our way up to Celtic Park. You know, I just wanted to see what I came to see, which was, you know, Celtic Park, and go to the superstores the day before the game. So it's, you know, probably going to be a bit more open. So we up on the train, get off. I believe it was the station's Bellengrove, right off the Gallowgate. So we're walking up the Gallowgate. And, you know, keep in mind, I have all these expectations in my mind. You know, people talking about the east end of Glasgow and how it's sort of run down, and it's, you know, it's not a nice area. You might not feel safe, et cetera, et cetera. It's dirty. I'll tell you what. I mean, it was nicer than maybe 80% of the sort of urban areas in many of the U.S. cities. I mean, keep in mind, Rev, go ahead and open it up. All right, I'm from Philadelphia, so I mean, how dirty can a city possibly be? How unsafe can I possibly feel in retrospect to what I'm conditioned to? It really wasn't bad. You know, walking up the Gallowgate, I mean, I would probably put it on par with, like, you know, well, Rev, I'll put it into terms, you know, that are really identifiable for you. I mean, walking from the train station in Newark up to Harrison, you know, up to where Red Bull Arena is, it's pretty much like that. You know, it's a very ethnic area. You know, a lot of the shops have shutters and things like that, but it's not bad. I mean, people talk down on Glasgow and Scotland like, oh, it's shite, you know, it's dirty, the people are nasty. I loved Glasgow. I thought it was great. It reminded me a lot of Pittsburgh in a lot of ways, you know, because it's hilly. Like the topography around the city, there's a lot of hills, and you know, you can tell at one point it was a mining town. It does have a bit of like a gray sort of vibe to it, but in terms of like, you know, being, you know, filthy and trash all over the streets and junkies walking around everywhere, it wasn't bad. You know, I think that there's a lot of cities are pretty much all the same. You know, you have nice areas, you have not so nice areas, and then you have, you know, sort of in between. And that's you know, true whether you're talking about New York, Paris, Philadelphia, DC, you know, so you really can't judge a city based on like the worst of the worst areas. Right. Anyway, so we make it up to Celtic Park, and I'll tell you what, like the first view that I had of Celtic Park was like, whoa. I mean, you know that it's going to be a big stadium, right? It's 60,000 seater. You've seen pictures of it from the outside, but when you see it in person and then to scale, like next to buildings that are in themselves pretty big themselves, I mean, it was like, it really does leave an effect. You know, as we walked closer and closer, I mean, you know, it was very emotional. You know, and of course I had a lot of questions, especially, you know, I was curious as to what the new stadium looks like versus what, you know, the old Celtic Park before, you know, and Paul was explaining how it was much shorter, you know, it wasn't as tall, but it was more splayed out, like wider. Almost more of like a bowl. The new stadium, the Celtic Park as it is, I mean, my first two thoughts were, whoa, and my second thought was, God bless Fergus. You know what I mean? Because he built a phenomenal stadium. I mean, by even American standards, by even NFL stadium, you know, the brand new Major League Baseball standards, in terms of its structure, in terms of the scope and the size of it, it was phenomenal. And I got really emotional. You know, we're walking around the Jock Stein stand, and, you know, the first glimpse of the Jinky statue, the Brother Walford statue, the Jock Stein statue, and then the front of the building. I mean, you see it a million times on video, and pictures and so on. But when you see it in person yourself, I mean, it's just, it was very, very emotional. You know, from the standpoint of, I spent so long thinking about being there and what it would be like and what it would look like, and not even being there was so special, and then to be there, I was overwhelmed, much to Paul's chagrin. I mean, you know, he wanted to, you know, knock my face off, like, stop crying, you bitch. So that's exactly what he said to an American accent. Stop crying, you bitch. So milled around, you know, in front of the stadium, a lot of Juventus fans, puffy jackets, you know, a lot of Mamma Mia. So the Superstore is on the other side of the parking lot, and I mean, Rev, you know, think about it. You go to the Superstore. I mean, I walked in. It was like when you're a kid around Christmas time going into a toy store. I mean, it was just like, holy shit. You
Anything you could want or think about, you know, being Celtic related is in there.
Absolutely. We got somebody in chat here, East Midlands FM, saying Celtic are rubbish. Yeah, your band. We'll fucking see it, pal. So I go in, and it does get a lot of stick. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's cash and carry." Well, only one person calls it cash and carry, and we know who that is. But you know, it leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, it's essentially the same as what you'd find at. You know, I've never been to the new Yankee Stadium, so I don't know what the you know, fan store is like. But you know, it's typically what you would find. I mean, I know going to the Philadelphia Eagles store and the Phillies store,
it's pretty much on par with that. You know, it's huge, and all along the back wall there's jerseys everywhere. So, you know, a lot of people have been saying on Twitter and elsewhere, you know, they can't find any of the anniversary kits, the 125th, you know, the white one with the collar and everything. I mean, the whole wall was full of them. You know, I was thinking about getting it, but, you know, it was like, I think it was like 50 pounds, and just with like no writing on it at all. If they had a long sleeve one, I probably would have gotten it. But, you know, with 3 months left in the season, they're probably not going to, you know, wear it anymore after that. It was like, that's kind of a waste. But I mean, they have everything. I mean, they have lunchbox. I mean, it was like Spaceballs. You know, with like Spaceballs the lunchbox, Spaceballs the mug. I mean, they had Celtic, you know, inflatable sofas, Celtic calendars, Celtic Matchbox cars, anything. You know, so to be honest with you, I wound up getting more stuff for other people than I did for myself. I mean, I got, you know, we're only a few months away from getting 3 new kits, so it's like, you know, I guess I'll just wait, you know, until the 3 new kits come out. Plus, I already have, you know, the current ones. So, you know, we go rifling through there. I got a bunch of scarves. I got the Ledley jersey for you. They didn't have any no sponsors, so I got it with the sponsor. That's all they had. Yeah. Okay. And then I got you a half Celtic, half St. Pauli scarf. They also had a ton of scarves from the Benfica. So it was like half Benfica, half Celtic, and then half Celtic, half Spartak Moscow for like £5. So I got a bunch of them. Got a couple for the folks who live across the street from me, you know, who I've sort of tried to brainwash into becoming Celtic supporters themselves. Man U supporters, you know, typical glory hunters. But I digress. I kid Man U. Yeah, so I went nuts in there. You know, I got a whole bunch of stuff. You know, and as I'm going through, it's like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? I don't have 30 pounds to have to pay for shipping. So that's just extra money to have to spend. So we go, you know, go up to the register. Paul goes outside. I think he had some calls to make and stuff. Here, I go up, and I broke the cash register. Like literally, the girl's like checking stuff out. It's like beep beep beep, and then, you know, the receipt machine just broke. It just stopped spitting receipts out. So Paul is going nuts. I mean, he's like, you know, what the hell is going on there? You know, what are you doing? I said, I broke the till, whatever they call it, the till. Yeah, it's like 1931. They have a till. So finally they sorted that out. We get through it, and we walk outside, and I'm like Sex in the City. I got like 14 green bags, you know, that I just filled up with you know, Celtic shit. And we're walking through the parking lot, and it's like, okay, we'll catch the train back, go back to the hotel, have a lie down, and then you know, have something to eat. So we're walking through the parking lot, and all of a sudden you hear Graham, and it's like, oh shit. I turn around, there's this guy running at me, and I'm like, hey man, how you doing? I have no idea who it is. You know, I mean, it's like one of those things. It's like, this person recognized me, and I've never met him before. And here it's Joliet Jake, who was on Twitter. You know, so he's like, oh, I'm Joliet Jake from Twitter. It's like, oh, all right, I know you are. You know, it's one of those deals, but it's so odd. You know, like when we were in Philly, how you meet up with people who you know from Twitter. But anyway, that was pretty funny. It was good to see him and get caught up with that, and you know, show off my my take from the Celtics store. So we went back, and then met up with Chibchenko and the Parrot. So had a few beers and a bite to eat with them. And that was fantastic. I mean, the Parrot is exactly how he is on the radio in person. Exactly. I mean, it's just like he's like shot out of a cannon with, like, you know, all the sayings and everything. I mean, he's an unbelievably delightful person. I grilled him a little bit. You know, I was asking him, what the hell does cash and carry mean? You know, I mean, cash and carry really isn't like a bad thing. You know, it's like, oh, it just means cash and carry, a bit of banter, you know, the whole thing. I mean, but just unbelievably pleasant person, as opposed to Chibchenko, who was just, well, I digress. I kid Chibchenko. She was wonderful. So it was great to meet them. The next day, you know, just sort of followed the same routine, you know. Didn't have any problem sleeping, which I was glad for. You know, obviously, I was exhausted from the jet lag and everything else. Woke up the next day, grabbed something to eat, and then actually we switched hotels. So we went to the new hotel, you know, just relaxing a little bit. But what we noticed was, you know, you probably noticed through you Twitter and elsewhere. I mean, I didn't have any access to Twitter except for when I was in the hotel room. Because I have my iPad with me, but it's only Wi-Fi. So Paul was sending out a lot of the pictures and the tweets and stuff. And I got so much stick. I mean, this about the jacket. People didn't like my jacket, and people didn't. I was like, you should go here, and you should be going there. You shouldn't do that. I mean, it's just like, oh my God.
To be fair, regarding your jacket, I know that doesn't really look like it's your style, but I know your style is all Celtic stuff, and you didn't want to wear that over there, so. Right?
Yeah,
Am I right with that?
No, look, it's a nice pea coat. There's nothing wrong with it. I was asking Paul, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with my jacket? He's like, nothing. It looks fine. I mean, it's nothing that people over there wouldn't wear themselves. So right. I don't know what the deal was with the jacket, but all sorts of people were giving me such a hard time about go shopping for a new jacket. It was like jacket patter all week. Like good Lord, you shouldn't be drinking that. You shouldn't be wearing that. Et cetera, et cetera. So. I had a little bit of a lie down. We're tweeting. People were like, "You should go down to the Gallowgate. You should be doing this and that." It's like, oh my God.
Well, don't worry. When you see anybody, coming over here to like New York or Philly or Boston, you'll be like,
please.
"Oh, you don't want to drink there.
Please.
You're wearing that out."
Oh,
what?
I'm gonna absolutely let them have it. I'm gonna absolutely let them have it. So, hang on. Sorry. So, still remnants of pneumonia. So, but God bless the antibiotics. They got me well in a hurry. So, finally, I had a couple of ciders. They have Stella Artois cider over there in these gigantic bottles. So, I had a couple of them, which absolutely did nothing to me except make me have to go to the toilet every 5 minutes. So, we make our way up to the stadium about 4 o'clock. And we stopped on the way down in the Gallowgate at this chip shop, which was, just heaving. I mean, there was so many people in there. It was Paul, myself, and Paul's mate Evan. It was just brilliant crack, and had a bite to eat. Made our way up to Gallowgate, and every single one of the bars. I mean, you walk up to Gallowgate and you see all of the the bars you hear about. Baird's Bar, which was obviously closed down. You saw the Brazen Head. Haggis, which I think is just shut down. The Wee Man, Bar 67, Hoops Bar, the whole nine. And every one of them had a line down the street coming out of them, and as you walk by, there's the Rebel songs, and it was just phenomenal. I mean, just, taking in the atmosphere. I didn't go into any of the bars in the Gallowgate. Quite frankly, I was so fired up to get to Celtic Park. I didn't even really bother with it. I didn't want to drink a whole lot. I wanted to remember as much. Although in hindsight, after the result, I kind of regretted it. But, made it up to Celtic Park itself, and you can't imagine. I mean, they shut down the street and the Gallowgate, so people were just walking down the middle of the street. I mean, just tons of people, and we didn't even wind up taking the train. Now, the train station, I think it's called Bellengrove. It's still a mile walk to the stadium. So if you take that from City Center, it's like 2 stops. You get off there, and it's still a mile. That you're huffing it. But we walked all the way from City Center and made it up to the stadium about. I guess 7 o'clock, got a couple of programs, and went into the stadium. No hassle, no problem with that. Rev, the atmosphere was unlike anything I've ever seen. And, you can use a lot of hyperbole in describing it, where you use terms like there's nothing like it, and the atmosphere is I've been to World Series games. I've been to NFC Championship games. The amount to describe exactly what was so amazing. I mean, first off, the Green Brigade with the banner that they had with London Calling, the replica of the Clash album was just superb. I mean, it was brilliant.
Where were you in relation to that?
I was in Jockstein Lower, which was the exact opposite end of the stadium. So right where I was sitting was the goal was slightly to the left of me. And, so it was, I guess, considered the Rangers' end. Jockstein is, if you're watching on TV, it would be on the left-hand side. The Green Brigade and the Lisbon Lions stand would be on the right-hand side. Okay. So we had a full view. I didn't even need to turn my head or anything to see the Green Brigade. And they were phenomenal. When the Champions League music came on and when the players came out, it wasn't even so much like the volume. Like, it was loud. And I've heard loud stadiums like that in the past. But it was like you could almost not even hear the Champions League music. And it was like, oh my God, is that the Champions League music? It's like, damn, I could barely hear it. And then as soon as it was done, like the explosion of noise, like, it was like, the champions! I was like, yeah! It's like, I've never experienced anything like, I was so startled that I couldn't even like sort of take part in it. I have video of it, and I'm trying to put together a video montage of everything that we sort of participated in during the week. But it was unlike anything. I mean, the Green Brigade was fantastic. Obviously, the first 3 minutes of the game, it's one song after another. We were midway through Celtic Symphony, and then F. Ambrose decided he was going to drop a turd, and went 1-0 down, and it was like, for me, I thought the energy level and everything got sucked out of the place. Yes, there was still the electricity, there was still a lot of vibrance about it, but it did take the wind out of our sails considerably. And then it was like we sort of got on edge, more and more as the game built. Even though, for me, Izagirre was the best player in the park. I mean, he read the game so well, and being there and seeing, how the play, the build-up, tends to happen from the opposition, and seeing where Izagirre would sort of position himself and inch over and see the play developing and then intercept. I mean, he was tremendous. I mean, this is really, Izagirre's back. I don't think we can slag him anymore. But it did seem like we were going to equalize. Even up until they scored the second goal, it seemed as though we were just on the verge of equalizing. And then once the second goal went in, it was like that was it. I mean, the energy completely went out of the stadium, and I was disappointed. The big disappointment that I had, aside from the tactical sort of issues that I had with how Lennon set up, was after 75, 76 minutes, Neil Lennon didn't even approach the touchline. He just stayed in the dugout. And it seemed as though the players responded. The players just chucked it, in my mind. I mean, the energy level wasn't there anymore. Maybe Matthews coming on at right back, he had a tough time trying to feel his way back into the game. But, I'd expect Neil Lennon to be up on that touchline, barking orders, making sure that everybody is where they need to be. And I didn't see him at all. I was very disappointed with that. True, the 3-0 scoreline did certainly flatter Juventus, and the referee was absolutely atrocious. I mean, I can't count how many times, right in front of us. I mean, we were right behind the goal. Gary Hooper just gets dumped into the back of the net himself. And the fourth official, why do you have a fourth official? If he's sitting there and he looks at it right in front of him and he's not going to call it. I think we know what happened. Obviously, going into this, Michel Platini, Juventus, we were always going to get the shit end of the stick going up against them. But how blatant it was just, it was disgraceful.
Like, I don't want to be like, oh no, the game was, the fix was in since the very beginning, before the game even started.
It was.
I don't want to play that, but it's like, after watching it, it's hard to say, that was it. Well, it wasn't a fair game, but it's hard to say that, there wasn't some sort of, dodgy handshakes or something.
Well, especially with the Right Honorable Hugh Dallas at UEFA.
Mm.
So, Jaggy Bunnett's getting in touch. It was Belgrove. That's the name of the train station. Thank you. And I was in the Celtic end. Was I? Oh, no. Is Jock Steen the Celtic end? I don't know. Maybe I got bad information. So, result, it sucked. But, walking out of the stadium, it was like, it wasn't. I was disappointed for the result, but it didn't take away from the night. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was amazing, amazing experience. That I'll never forget. Everybody talked about that first walk up the stairs when first time you see the stadium, and it's definitely true. I mean, it's a rush, and the stadium itself, it's very intimate. It's not like the typical bowl stadiums, where it's far away from the pitch. You're right on the pitch, and it's almost like you're wrapped in a blanket, sitting there inside the stadium. It's almost like a cocoon.
How far back were you? How many rows?
Maybe 20. Okay. So it was nice. We were set up a bit so you could see the entire park.
Right.
Which was it was great. The seats that we had were phenomenal, and you'll see from the video that I took, generally where we were. So leaving the stadium, I mean, it was a letdown, and I started to feel ill pretty much right then and there. I mean, not from the result or anything, but I started to get a sore throat, and the runny nose and the fever and all that. So the next day, we got up on the train, go to Edinburgh, I was going to stay with Paul for a couple days, and it was snowing, which was interesting. I mean, we haven't gotten our share of snow. But it was interesting to see, see Scotland, see the countryside, and I mean, you get on the train and you leave Glasgow, and like literally within 5 minutes, you're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was like you're in the Glasgow, and it sort of looks like it's suburban, and then I mean, we had a 12:15 train. By 12:25, we were seeing cows. And it wasn't like the train was hauling ass or anything. So, I mean, you very quickly go from urban to rural, which was kind of cool. And you could tell the snow got heavier as we sort of got in the middle of the train ride. I think the altitude climbs a bit as you leave Glasgow, and then you go back down as you go towards Edinburgh, as Edinburgh's right on the water. So we passed by Murrayfield, the national stadium of Scotland, where the rugby was today as well. And then we passed by Tynecastle on the train. So it was interesting to see, generally where they're located. Picked up Gaffer along the way. So the Gaffer jumped on the train. He's got a giant head. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I know that the Scottish people have this obsession with the size of people's heads. Gaffer's got a big head. Parrot's got a pretty big head, too. I don't know how my head stacks up in ratio to the rest of my body. But Gaffer's got a giant gourd. But Gaffer in person, same thing. I mean, it's same that you pick up on the podcast and everything else. He's just he's a great kid. Yeah, just very sort of genuine, really really nice kid. So went into Edinburgh, did a bit of sightseeing, went up to the hill at Carlton, carrying my bag around. So that was a lot of fun in the snow, sleet, and rain. Then we wound up watching first half of the Real Madrid Man U game at a pub in Edinburgh before I had to chuck it. I was burning up. I had a fever. Went back to Paul's and took a bunch of medicine and had to just crash. Thursday, my fever broke a little bit. We did some sightseeing. I saw the Royal Mile, James Connolly plaque, and where James Connolly grew up and all that. Greyfriars Bobby, spit on the heart of Midlothian. So.
Good.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Right across the street from the High Court.
I'm surprised that it's not like more protected or something. I guess they just figure no one's going to do that.
Well, it has nothing to do with the football club. It's just a story, about it, and it's kind of like. But
I mean, that's where it's a source of pride for the city.
Yeah, it's like a rite of passage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, as long as nobody licks it, I guess it's fine, So I spit on that deal. Nice little double entendre. And so that was cool. Friday, we rented a car and drove up into Fife and went to the John Thompson Memorial, which, it was amazing. I mean, as we were walking up to it, I asked Paul, I said, when did they build this? And he's like, what are you talking about? He passed away in 1930. It looked like they just built it. I mean, the amount of upkeep that they were doing for this, I mean, it was very moving, because a lot of the other headstones didn't have that same level of care, and they showed their age, whereas the memorial for John Thompson, I mean, it looks probably as good as it did the day it was built. There were a bunch of footballs right in front of it. There was, a bunch of Celtic scarves. There was a Celtic bear, like a stuffed animal on it, and it was just very moving. The fact that that's something that sets Celtic apart from any other club as well. I mean, I know that Yankee Stadium has, their tributes and memorials out in center field, but nothing like this. I mean, nothing.
There's no graves or anything like that in cemeteries, as far as I know.
No, it's nothing that would have this amount of attention and upkeep and looking after it. As a source of community. I mean, it was moving. I mean, I was moved to tears by it. It's another sort of indicator of what makes this club so special. So I was really glad that I did that, and and also in spite of the fact that it's in a town called Cardenden, which I believe is a Hunnish hotbed. But But I digress. So also went up to St Andrews to see what, the golf course and all that. I think it's the most American place in Scotland. Took some pictures up there, got some souvenirs from my dad, my father-in-law, etc. And it was cool to see, the golf course there, the old course. It's a lot smaller than you'd think, looking at it on television. But, so that was cool. Came back, and, the one thing that I really missed out on was the, the nights going out to the pubs and getting after it with the drink. I mean, when you're sick like that, the last thing you want to be doing is drinking and going out. And I had zero energy for it. So, that was really the one thing that I missed out on. But Saturday we went back over to Glasgow, I had the rental car till the next day, took that back, checked into the hotel, and made our way back to Celtic Park for the game. And 6-2, I mean, it was just, just demolition derby. Took a tour of Celtic Park as well, which was, really cool. Got some great pictures and video from that, walking out of the tunnel, sitting on the, in the dugout, from the touchline view, and, walking through the dressing room and the trophy room, and, where the boardroom is. Saw some Magners swag throughout there, so they're ready to go with that. But
was this before or after the game?
It was before the game. So it was about, we had the tour at 11 a.m. Mm-hmm. And the game was at 3. So I think the tour lasted about 90 minutes. And, they had, it was cool. I mean, they had this lady who was sort of leading the tour, and I don't know, Paul was a little upset because she kept getting things wrong. She was saying that John Barnes won the League Cup. It wasn't John Barnes, it was Kenny Dalglish. Barnes was fired by then. I think she said something else, like Bobby Murdoch maybe took a corner, scored from a corner, and then was disallowed for some reason, then did it again. It wasn't Bobby Murdoch, it was Charlie Tully. So anyway, and then she, was like, oh, the other thing she was saying was, so what does everybody think the score is going to be today? And somebody threw out there 5-0. I was like, whoa, 5-0. Okay, who do you think's going to score? And somebody said Stokes, and she goes, oh, please, you don't think Stokes is going to play today, do you? Well, yeah, he did wind up playing. He scored 2 goals. So, wah, wah, wah. And then she was saying stuff like, Ambrose needs to have, more training with Danny McGrain. I mean, she was giving Ambrose, a bit of stick. I mean, it's like, come on, I don't need all that. I'm the one with the opinions, not you.
You're the paid employee to give tours. You're not the pundit.
Show me where everything is. Stop with your opinions. So, it was cool. I mean, you're walking down the Gallagate, and there's all sorts of, like, stands set up, where people have scarves for sale and badges for sale and flags. I got a picture of, like, the Che Guevara CSC flag for you. I still have to post that, so I'll get that up there on Twitter for you, so you can see that. But it was phenomenal. And Saturday night, I mean, the biggest disappointment, I do regret it, and I'll never get over this disappointment. Paul was good enough to get in touch with a lot of the folks who have listened into the show and been real great to us, over the time that we've been on, and just arranged a gathering. And at this point, I had no voice, I had very little energy. I was running a bit of a fever, my throat was sore, I was coughing like crazy, but I had to go. Had a few. I think Suzanne King, she was referring to them as cheeky wee whiskeys. I think they were some of the grouse variety. They were delicious, but I'm disappointed at the fact that I didn't have the sort of energy that I typically do, so that we could interact. And I was probably a little bit of a buzzkill, for some of the folks that turned up. And I'm so sorry. I'm so disappointed about that. I did the best I could, but I just had no voice, and it was loud. And after a while, I was like, it just became really hard to talk. But I was very moved that so many people came out. It was great to see everyone. Obviously Paul, the gaffer, Jerry McMahon, who I know is listening in right now, is in the chat room. KK from Tony Wah fame. Richard Swan, it was great to see him and meet him in person, and that he came out. Suzanne King and her husband Tim, both lovely people, both came out. And I know I'm missing people. Oh, Paul Lee, St. Sixtus. He's just a madman, but in person, he's the nicest person you'd ever want to meet. And of course, Frankfurt Maley's boys, who, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to, for all the support that he's given us and sending us stuff over. And, he's just a fantastic guy. I mean, when you see him in person, I mean, he's probably no more than 22 or 23 years old, which is amazing considering how much he's accomplished and how much he does.
I would have guessed way older than that, older than me.
Oh yeah. No, he's quite young, which is to his great credit. I mean, just a nicer guy you wouldn't ever expect or hope to meet. And Bob McGuire was there as well. So just want to say hello to everybody who was there. If I forgot anybody, Chipchenko. I can't forget about Chipchenko. It's impossible to forget about Chipchenko. She's just brilliant banter and just great stuff. So that was it, and then flew home. I'll tell you, the flight home was brutal though, because my ears are still full of junk and mucus and all that. And as we were descending into Newark, it was really windy. I think it was the last Sunday. I think there was a bit of snow on Saturday night, and the turbulence was bad. And as we were descending, it felt like my ear was going to explode. So that wasn't much fun. But went to the doctor on Monday, got a chest scan and took some cultures, and they discovered I had pneumonia and an ear infection and stuff. So on the mend. But that's pretty much long and short of it, Rev. So there you go.
That sounds like a good time overall.
What questions? Give me questions. Fire questions at me.
Well, I actually got to run now.
All right, bye, Rev.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for checking in. All right. Hey, apparently I forgot. I forgot Tony Cassidy as well. Tony Cassidy's taller than you think.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. Rev, I'm sorry. I completely filibustered you.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It was worth it.
So look, I told you the story. All right, but we have to. Yeah. We have other things we need to catch up on.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to get you this jersey? I didn't put bald asshole on it either.
I guess just Philly, if you're going to come up for that. We'll talk after.
All right. Look, I can sense Dose is dragging you away, so I don't want to keep,
It's all good.
I don't want to keep you from your Dose activity.
All right. I'll catch you later.
Listen, Rev, thank you so much for calling in and listening to my bullshit. Have a wonderful day today, and best of luck. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Later, everybody.
All right. You know what? I don't even feel bad for filibustering the Rev. You know what? That's the other thing I didn't take up with him. Trying to lead a hashtag against me. Blame Graham. Shame on you. So that's it. Skype lines are open if you want to give me a call. I'm all by myself now. The Rev is going out and doing the wedding planning sort of stuff. So any questions you have, about the trip, or you want to know anything about, I mean, I could talk for days literally, but people aren't listening for that, I don't think, or maybe they are, I don't know. But give us a call. Add us as a contact at Beyond the Waves and on Skype, and get in touch. It's a free call, and immediately jumping into action, it's Davey calling us all the way from parts unknown. Davey, turn your speakers down for me if you can. So I keep hearing myself. When I hear myself, it's like I'm still hearing myself. Are you there, pal? Hello. Davey. I keep hearing myself. When I hear myself, all right. We're going to have to wait till he calls back. Davey, if you're listening, give us a call back, because I couldn't hear you. I could just hear myself, and that's just absolutely terrifying. So, 5-0 today. Joe Ledley brace. It seemed as though we came out in a 4-4-2. Neil Lennon talked a lot about changing things and freshening the squad and bringing some of the kids in. But, really for me, it was only Dylan McGeoch, who was different. I mean, obviously Ronya comes in at center half. And, that's a bit different, I guess, giving some players like Charlie Mulgrew a rest, something I've been calling for weeks. We'll take a break from that for now. But joining us now is Jerry McMahon. Jerry, how are you? Hail.
Graham, I'm good.
Oh, fantastic. It's good to hear your voice. as I was just mentioning, I was so disappointed that I didn't have, my energy, and I wasn't feeling well. I mean, I did as good as I could have, but by the end of the night, I couldn't. I mean, I was trying to speak, but nothing was coming out, and I'm so disappointed for that. I mean, if being sick took anything away from the trip, that was it, and I really regret that. But I really appreciate you coming out, and it was great to meet you in person, and I hope you had a good time.
Oh, Graham, listen, absolutely. I mean, I was desperate to meet you, and for all that I could see, you were really, really struggling. I was very glad that I came and did it. I thought I had to come and meet you, and I did manage to get wee bits and pieces from you about the whole experience. And I know even then I thought you deteriorated as the night wore on, but I would never have not been there, and it was nice. I mean, I spoke to Paul at length and Tony Cassidy and some really nice guys there, so very, very glad I did that. And, I was desperate to listen to the show tonight, because it's good that you spent a wee bit of time and the whole experience, and it's fascinating to hear it in detail, like the way you broke it all down there. And funnily enough, I'm a veteran of going to Celtic matches. I've been going since 1971, but I loved the Juventus game as well, and for a whole number of different reasons. I thought for a large part of the game we looked like we belonged at that level. I thought we threatened and could easily have got a couple of goals.
I agree.
And, many, I thought in some aspects it was as good a performance as put in Europe in the last 10 or 15 years. I thought there was a lot of promise there. And as I say, but for a few lapses in concentration and a total clown of a referee, then I think we might have had a different outcome.
I agree.
And, obviously I took my daughter, that was her first proper Champions League match. And I was interested in the fact that she loved it. I mean, bearing in mind that I'm touching 50 this year, and I remember being inside that stadium and thought, what, this is just incredible. The noise, the passion, the colour, as you say, the Green Brigade. And the other thing that you probably, I don't know whether you would see, was the level of media interest.
Yes.
I told you just how much we were back in the big stage, because right in front of me, literally 10, 20, 30 feet from me, was Henrik, was being interviewed, in pitch side, and I could see maybe 6 or 7 separate media, teams covering the match.
We were right there too. We were on 138, and he was right in front of us. It was incredible. Like you describe it. He's walking down the touchline, and he walks around the corner, and I'm standing there, and it's like, holy shit, there's Henrik Larsson. In person, like he's right there, and like you said, there was so much media. Even the day before when we were walking around the stadium, you could see, all the tractor trailers and the satellite trucks. And I mean, it was just a massive media presence there. No question about it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I knew you were coming and you targeted the Juve game, and you were so optimistic as the weeks in the run up to the match came along. And what really worried me is knowing how much passion you had for the game, that I thought, what? If this doesn't go well, how will that? How will we feel about the club and all the rest of it? But strangely enough, when I was walking out the stadium, and obviously part of it is seeing it through the eyes of my daughter, and I was saying, "Well, what did you think?" And she said, "Dad, I loved it," and I actually really enjoyed. I mean, obviously, it would have been 100 times better if we'd have got the result, but I kind of left there, and obviously you'd been in my thoughts because I was following you on Twitter, and I thought, I think he would have loved that experience.
Yeah, no question.
Just showcase the club, the fans, in a positive light. And then even I thought the United game on the Saturday was just terrific again. But I thought, looking back, even as I left the Juve game, I think that's arguably the strongest squad we've had at Celtic for a long, long time. You take it from the defence, the midfield, the forwards. So many of them are capable of coming in and impacting in the game. And, it's just a crying shame that it looks as if we will be out of Europe for this year. But I think even if we lose Victor, if we lose Gary Hooper, I think what's there within the squad, within the team, the fact that we've had good financial results, which you didn't even touch on in your report, your summary. There is a lot. I think it's an incredible time to be a Celtic fan.
No question. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think obviously for me, I could only imagine, I think you did say to me on Saturday night that it's deepened your obsession, and
if that were even possible.
Yeah, but does it feel a wee bit more real than before now? The fact that you've been there inside the stadium, you kind of a bit more one of us in some respects.
It's an interesting thought, and I would have to say, in a certain level, yes. I mean, not so much in terms of like, I feel more of a Celtic supporter now, but I feel like I understand more. When folk on Twitter or on the podcast are talking about certain things, and it doesn't even need to be about like the stadium specifically or the Gallagate or whatever else. But I feel like I have more of a connection now than I did before, and it's very personal. I don't. But from a credibility standpoint, or like a passion level, even I don't feel any more. From that level, I just feel like I understand it better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just always thought that in a way there's a missing piece in the jigsaw puzzle when you haven't been there. That's probably what I was meaning. I think that, and probably the fact that for in a proper competitive match, you're seeing the whole pitch at the one time, whereas watching it on TV, you're following it. The camera's following the ball a lot of the time.
I agree. And like I was saying before,
maybe seeing that there's no substitute for being there. It's, I think watching it in the telly is great, but it's no comparison. I think if you could, in an ideal world, if you could be at Celtic Park every second Saturday now, you would probably choose to do that rather than watching it on TV.
Jerry, I would never leave Celtic Park if I lived in Scotland. I just pitch a tent outside. I'd be like Greyfriars Bobby. I just sit there every day. I'd never leave. That's the biggest thing that I miss is Celtic Park. A couple days later, it's like, I can't go to Celtic Park, on Saturday, or on Tuesday. I'm not going to be able to go. And that's sort of like the saddest thing about it. But you're absolutely right. Being there, one point I want to touch on is you hear this a lot in terms of being there. It gives you a wider perspective, a better perspective. In addition, being there and where we were seated in 138, just behind the goals there, you get a nice perspective. It's laid out right in front of you. So like I was talking about a bit earlier with my assessment of Izagari in the Juventus game, you can see how Juventus was trying to build and where Izagari would position himself and then sort of creep into reading, what was going to take place. And even the same with Wanyama. You get a much crisper and wider perspective. I think it's easier to do it. It's certainly possible to do it while watching on TV, but it's a lot easier when you're there because, three-dimensional perspective obviously helps with that, but you're not at the mercy of where the cameraman's going to put the picture and so on. Just following the ball. That's definitely an important point. But coming out of the stadium, you're right. I would definitely agree with the fact that I felt like I was gutted about the result. Make no mistake, and I was gutted specifically about how the result came about. But I felt like I was part of something really, really just grand, on a very grand scale, and it was very special. It's something that I will never forget. I'm glad that I got video, of it, of a lot of the moments with it, and it's just something I just can't wait to get back over. The other thing is, a lot of people, as I mentioned earlier, we'll talk about Glasgow and talk about even Edinburgh and Scotland, in very derogatory terms. I thought it was lovely there. I thought the people were lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other issues, you mentioned Neil Lennon and how he wasn't really animated. The strange thing is, one thing I forgot to say, I'm actually in block 137, so I can't believe that on the night and on the day of the Dundee United game, I would probably be literally, a 10-yard walk to come and say hello. So had I known that on the night of the Juve game, I would have been over to see you and Paul right away, because that's almost, couldn't be closer to me in terms of the stadium. And you talk about Lenny is actually what you don't always see. Lenny goes berserk.
Yes.
He's never out of that dugout.
Yes.
We were a goal in front, and I can't remember whether it was the fullback or one of the midfielders. That might have been McGear, close possession. Mm-hmm. And Lennon was out screaming at him.
I know.
At him. And I said to my pal, Swansea boy, who follows you on Twitter, I said, we're 18 points behind. Are we maybe 18 points in front? Or a goal in front and that man's going berserk. And I thought, in a way, I'm always encouraged by that. In a way, he's always demanding high standards. And you think, well, to be as driven as that, probably you see a bit more of him. But possibly the strangest thing about the UV game on the night is that for a big part of that game, I don't think he needed to go out the dugout. I thought we were passing the ball about. I thought they were threatening. I thought they were making chances. I thought we were defending well. It really was kind of a couple of silly mistakes because in the main, we looked like we belonged at that level. We looked like a quarter final or a last 16 match was in no way beyond us.
No question.
And in the strangest sense, I thought that we were the equal of them, perhaps with the exception of a really clinical finisher and Pirlo. We didn't have that, and possibly their central defence. I'm going through the whole team now and contradicting myself, but I thought we really gave them a right good game. And, the next, just hope we get through the qualifiers next year in the Champions League because, you just want that journey again, don't you?
No question, definitely.
One thing I've picked up about like yourself, Yompi, the Rev, is that you guys love the European experience every bit as much as we do. I think the whole global support got up for it. And, probably you saw more why that was the case on the night of the UV game. It is just fantastic. So listen, I know how much of a blow it must have been for you to be so ill and that, if you get over again, we will have a riotous night. And I'm sure you'll be well up for that. I didn't expect to be back home at the back 11:30 on a Saturday night.
Me neither.
Thought it might have been on long into the night, but a credit to yourself. You did the best you could. We did a good chat, and I was so glad to catch up because when you came over, the minute I saw you tweeted that you were coming over, I thought I have to find a way to meet this man. So, and as I said to you on the night, lots and lots of fans really appreciate that you've got this, that after the game, on a match day, you've got that immediate opportunity to speak to Celtic fans, and the fact that it's coming from America still astonishes me. And Paul Lark, I said that to Paul on the night, and he said, Jerry, they're actually just Celtic fans. They're not any different. That's probably how you should view them. But superb, Graham. Thanks for taking my call again, and so glad you enjoyed it, and maybe the next time you come over, we'll take one of these big teams again.
That's it.
And, the knockout round and, go further. But it's not finished yet. You never know.
Nah, that's it. I mean, look at what happened with Liverpool. Look at what happened, with some of the comebacks in the Europa League. It's definitely doable. There's still something to play for. And I think that this team plays with a lot of pride. And I know that the manager has a lot of pride. And they're going to be looking to really show their skill and their worth on the European scale, not to go out with a whimper. So I'm certainly, not chucking my interest in this tie. We'll put it that way. It's a very steep and large mountain to scale, but insurmountable. No, I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, and one last thing. I think next weekend, the St Mirren, I think we play in the Scottish Cup.
Yep.
Because they knocked us out, because we want a big showpiece match at the end of the season, a nice sunny day, because we want it to be seen as a really great season for us, I think I'm really up for that match next week. I think St Mirren have got a lot of decent young players.
Agreed.
They're reasonably good up front. So I think next Saturday is big in the context of our season because we probably will go out of Europe. But I think to get that Scottish Cup semi-final and get to the final and hopefully get the double is massive. So let's hope the team learn a lesson. They're out there firing all cylinders from the kick-off next week. and on your show, we've got a semi-final to look forward to, and a big day in May that we can hopefully enjoy and win the trophy.
Jerry, it's great to meet you. Thank you so much, as always, for calling in, and we'll hopefully talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and all the best.
Brilliant, Graham. All the best. Hail, hail.
Cheers,
care.
pal. Hail, hail. Jerry McMahon getting in touch there. Fantastic stuff. Great to meet him. I did leave out Tony Cassidy. I can't believe I did that. So shout out to Tony Cassidy. I apologize. Like I was saying before, Tony's taller than I thought he was going to be. Actually, the gaffer told me that I was taller than he thought I was going to be. I don't know how tall people think I was going to be, but well, there you go. Apologies for the coughing as well. I'm, obviously on the tail end of this, trying to shake it, but certainly not free from symptoms. So here we go. Let's see if we can get Davey back on the line.
Tall people think I was going to be, but
Davey, turn the Spreaker, the show off, and then I don't think.
Can you hear me, Matt?
Yeah. Now I got you. We're joined now by Davey. Davey, thanks so much for calling in, pal. Hail, hail.
Yeah, well, mate, it's good to know that you got over last week. We'll start with a negative, shall we?
Yeah, go for it.
I was out. I specifically came up to Glasgow last week because I knew you were over. And I got a message to you, but you never showed, mate.
Yeah, you know what? Apologies. And like I said, in the start, it was really there were so many people that got in touch and said, let's meet up. And I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have Twitter, and it was really difficult to coordinate. Everything had to go through Paul. And, a lot of the messages that I got, I didn't actually even wind up getting until I got back to the U.S. So I apologize for that. It's one.
I'm only winding you up. I was up there anyway. It was my birthday, and I remembered you were over at Juve, and I thought, I wonder if you're still over on a Saturday night. But it was really good to hear you talk at the start because when I used to, when I was young, I would look out my school window and I'd see Celtic Park or see the floodlights, and although it always sort of especially European nights, you would get the hairs in the back of your neck standing up. To a big degree, I think folk like myself take it for granted. So it's really good to hear somebody like yourself talk about what it was like to come over and see the ground and, enter the stadium. And it must have been a great buzz for you despite the dreadful score against Juve.
Yeah, I think that really, that says everything. The fact that, the scoreline was what it was, and we were certainly hard done by to get that. But I didn't leave the ground, with my head dropped. I still felt as though I was part of something incredible, something that I'll never forget. It would have been so much better if we could have gotten the result, but
I know. I don't want to go on too much with the week. For a fortnight in the run up to it, I was saying to everybody that would listen, we're going to draw one each, and then. I heard the team, and I went on the Green Brigade forum just before kick-off, and I said, we're going to get beat 3-0 by that team. I just felt that it was a massive, not hindsight, as I said before the game, I thought it was a massive error playing Ambrose. The guy had just come off a 12-hour flight. He'd just probably done all his nervous energy and his adrenaline in the cup final for Nigeria. I thought it was a major mistake playing the boy.
Well, in hindsight, it definitely seems as though it was a mistake. And I was trying to, in the beginning of the game, I to be honest with you, I didn't have that many reservations with it. It was like, well, you know what? It's the same time zone. It is a long flight. And I was trying to draw it, look, I had, a 8-hour flight on this essentially the same time, but I had the jet lag to contend with as well. And, I should never be anywhere near a football pitch, but I was thinking, you know what, I could probably play. I wouldn't be the best, but I could probably still do it. And if there wasn't a difference in the time, then I'd probably be okay. So, I figured, you know what, let's trust Neil Lennon. And if he's assessed him and he feels like he's ready to go, then he probably is. And he's been brilliant for us, especially in Europe, out with obviously that performance. But in hindsight, I'd have to agree, it was a mistake playing him. What about Joe Ledley, though? Joe Ledley not only didn't start, but didn't even get substituted on. Neil Lennon preferred to bring Kyle on instead of Ledley. Then the following Saturday, Joe Ledley has the captain's armband. I was a bit of head scratcher for me.
There has been a few wee things like that do make you think. Personally, from when we signed him, I've always said Ledley should be one of the first 2 or 3 names on the team sheet.
Definitely.
I think it just brings solidity, stability. He played very well today, but normally he doesn't. Normally it's when he's out the team, as you say, that you sort of miss him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
But today he was very, very good.
Yeah, what I liked, obviously Ledley scoring the goals, and that's something that I've been hoping was going to develop for his game while at Celtic. I mean, when we first signed him, there was all sorts of reports about, he does have a bit more of an attacking flair. He had played, maybe a bit in that role while he was at Cardiff, but he's really been more of a holder for us, or more of, dropping back deep, as I like to refer to it, and picking the ball up from the center halves, and then facilitating that build from the back. Today, what we saw, which I loved, was much more of almost like that key role. The picking passes that would split the defense and have the runner right in the end of it. A couple of them didn't quite meet the runner, but I love seeing that. I want to see more of it, because without having Key, we've lost a certain element of that in our game. It's somebody that can pick out a pass like that. Hopefully Rogic, I like what I've seen from him so far, and hopefully he can facilitate that role. I think Rogic can actually be better than Key in a lot of different ways, but Ledley
definitely made Ledley and Rogic look as if they could complement each other very well in the middle of the park.
No question.
I think Rogic, what is he, 20 years old?
Yeah, that's it.
He just, I think he's destined for great things, hopefully with us.
Yeah, I absolutely. A couple of things that are going to facilitate Rogic's career here, which I'm very positive about. Number one, obviously you need to get the work permit. Like, just because he's playing for Celtic now, and if, let's say, 2, 3, 4 years from now, he wants to make the move down to England, to one of the big clubs, which I think is well within his capacity, especially considering, some of the Premiership clubs were looking at him now, but weren't able to get that work permit finalized in time, for Celtic to come in and make their offer. But there's a couple things. He's going to get regular playing time. Let's not kid ourselves. Wanyama, there's a pretty decent chance that he's gone in the summertime. So we're going to need somebody to fill in there. Now, it's not to say that Rogic does anything like what Wanyama does, but we still have Scott Brown. We're still going to have Joe Ledley. Hopefully we can extend his contract, because I'd love to see him continue on. I think that he fulfills, like you said, a vital role that we don't notice unless he's out of the starting 11. And Scott Brown obviously is going to continue on. Fingers crossed that he either gets the surgery or the rehab that can get him back to full fitness and full the peak of his form, if you will. But we're going to need somebody to slot in that central midfield, and if Rogic can cement his place in doing a certain thing, which I think is along the same lines as what Key does, but I think what he can do that the Key always, in spite of the fact that Key did improve with it, I think he always had a bit of a shortcoming with trying to hold up play and trying to break up play in the middle of the park. Rogic seems to be a bit more of a physical player and perhaps a bit better in the tackle, maybe slowing down a runner on the counterattack, which for me, even though Key improved drastically with it, I just think he was still a liability with that. So if we can have that sort of that passing acumen that can slice open defenses with a bit more of the steel in the middle, well, that's a very special player, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely, mate. It's also depending on the formations as we go along, because I've got a feeling that Ambrose will spend more time in midfield once Wanyama goes next season.
Yeah, no question.
But Rogic, definitely looks good. And today, hopefully, I know just before I go, just want to say good luck to the boys in the Green Brigade. We're handing out leaflets today about their whole situation.
Yes, and they were brilliant today, as they always are.
Definitely, mate. I think it showed as well, just basically unifying the support is for them is key in the long term for their sort of struggle against, be it Focus, Police, or be it as they see the PLC and sort of how they approach things. I think a lot of the time people online look at some of the online comments against the Green Brigade, and a lot of it's just total nonsense. It's fairly obvious. A lot of these folk don't even go to games. And basically the vast majority of people that go to games know the situation. So hopefully the boys will be able to sort of ride the latest wave of nonsense anyway.
Very well said.
Right, I'll go on my way, mate, and good to speak to you again, mate. All right, take care.
Good stuff, Davey. Hello, cheers.
Yeah, bye.
So that's Davey calling us. Always good crack from the Over and Over show with Housey. All the best to Housey. Not sure what the status is with him. I thought he was going to be coming back, but not really sure. But all the best and whatever he's up to, and always great to catch up with Davey there. So breaking down the game, I mean today 4-4-2 standard 4-4-2. In my opinion. And then even, as the great Tick Tactic likes to point out, I thought, it was more of maybe a 4-2-2-2-2, that sort of thing. The two banks of two in the middle of the park, were separated a bit. So, that facilitates more of the link up. But with two wingers in the midfield, it was almost like a throwback to the Strachan era, and left us a bit exposed at times, which we can afford to do against a team like Dundee. But it was interesting to see how Forrest on one side and McGeoch paired up, because I've been calling out for something similar to that for some time. And of course, Anthony Stokes, in spite of the fact that he didn't score a goal today, I thought was phenomenal in terms of the link up. I mean, he set up Joe Ledley perfectly for for one of his goals. I mean, he's eager, he's out there, he's hungry. That's what we need, from our players at the moment. They don't need to be the youngest players. Obviously, I'd like to see some of our young players come up and stamp their name and stake their claim, if you will, to the starting 11. But I want hunger. I want to see some passion out there, and Stokes is definitely giving that out. And hopefully it does come good, as was commented this week from Neil Lennon, that he gets a contract extension, because I know that a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I think Stokes a vital player for us, especially in these SPL games. I don't think it's any surprise or secret as to, since Anthony Stokes has come back, we are a goal-scoring machine. 6-2 against Dundee United, 5 goals up today. Like I said before, yes, he didn't score the goals today, but he was making the bullets for the other players to fire, and he's an essential part of our team going forward, especially as it looks like Gary Hooper may be leaving. I thought we were joined there by a caller, but maybe he hung up. So, Brendan, if you're listening, I lost you. Please just give us a call back. Maybe he got sick of my rant. I don't know. But in summary, I think Stokes is absolutely essential. And, certainly at this point, undroppable. Even if you're going to bring Sammy back in, I think Sammy is much better pegged out wide left. And, I think that Sammy does something a bit different to what Stokesy does. But Stokes, we missed his presence. Obviously, when he was missing in some of these scrappy SPL ties where the pitch isn't going to be perfect, where the box is going to be packed. I mean, Stokesy is exceptional in traffic. He gets into those tight spaces, and he can facilitate those 1-2s that free up Hooper, and as we saw today, Ledley. So, I think he's a vital part. Also, the other player who, in my opinion, has gotten far too much stick throughout the fall, as well as up until very, very recently, and this has gone completely quiet, and there's no coincidence with this, is Gary. You heard so many people throughout the fall. He's not the same player. He's never going to be the same player. The injury took, everything you had out of him. We need to get in a new left back. Well, what you find is, now Gary. I think in the past 5 games he's been back to his usual self. But in addition, his service is much better. No longer do you have him, taking on a player, getting by him, and then the service would be into Rosette. His service has been exceptional. A couple of balls into the box today were just sublime from him. And long may it last. Like I said in that Juventus tie, he read the game better than anybody on the park, including Wanyama, who in my opinion, is I think that's really one of his major strengths, is his ability to read the game and get into positions that are very favorable for him to break up play and move the ball up the pitch. The one thing he still needs to work on, as is always, is some of his distribution. I think sometimes maybe he takes 2 or 3 too many touches before he distributes. But if that's the one knock against him, considering all of the great things, not good things, great things that he does, then he's obviously a very special player, and he will be a miss if he does go in the summertime. I think he probably will. I think Hooper's definitely gone. But we're joined now by Steve Brandt of the Vuvuzela Soccer Show, North American-based show that I've been on a few times and have a lot of time for. Steve, thanks for joining us. Hail. And did you have an opportunity to watch the game today? It was on Fox Soccer Plus here in North America.
Yeah, I did. It was actually it's actually a good way to wake up because, I mean, most of the times, as you know, being in North America, the games that we get are like Man City, or for some reason we had to be put through Fulham versus Stoke on yesterday at ESPN. So I mean, it's fun to watch, and I don't know why these networks don't get the concept to put something on that's actually fun. I mean, I look at Celtic, and now of course I'm wearing green colored glasses and all of this, but they're just fun to watch. I mean, you do not want to see Stoke muddle through and have a 7'3" striker out there and play like a damn rugby team when.
Oh, yeah, come on, Steve. Come on. I mean, huffing the ball constantly isn't that bad, is it?
well, heck, Sam Allardyce has made a career out of that for the last 20+ years. And
true, very true. And he's even taken it to West Ham, of all places.
Just as you were trying to be nice to Man U fans, as I have said before, there's no such thing as a good Man U fan. So. But anyway, one of the things I was listening to you about is Victor being sold. Why? I mean, why is there a need for him to go? I mean, has he made any mention that he wants more money? Because if you think about it, staying at Celtic right now makes him more valuable, makes him more of a legend. He goes to somewhere like Man United or Arsenal or Tottenham or Real Madrid. He's just another bit player. He's Luka Modric. He's Rafael van der Vaart.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being that.
Oh, yeah, you get to be massively paid. Or you stay somewhere and you be the man. I mean, he's insanely young. He could stay at Celtic for another 10, 12 years easily. And think of the silverware haul that man could have if he stayed.
Yes, but you know, the one thing that he's not going to have, if he does stay at Celtic, which I agree with you, there's a lot of accolades that can come his way by staying at Celtic, but he cannot get the sort of wages that he would command if he were to go to, say, a Manchester United or an Arsenal. And I think that at a certain point that becomes paramount. In addition to the fact that he has made no secret of the fact that he has been a Manchester United fan since he was a child, and it'd be a dream to play for them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're guaranteed to be playing in the Champions League every year if you go to Manchester United. And in addition to that, he would walk into that team right now, no question about it. In spite of the fact that how young he is, he wouldn't be out of place whatsoever if he went into that Manchester United side right this second, and he'd make them a better side.
Well, then again, let's be honest with that midfield at Manchester United. They're all 55, all the way straight across. I mean,
ageism.
I don't know if you saw that graphic that I think the original winger put up, but they were talking about what is the age of the players in Manchester United since Ryan Giggs started, and half the team is under a month old when he joined the team. When he joined Manchester United.
Hell, I was in junior high school when he joined Manchester United. Think about that.
Yeah, and I'm not too much younger than you, Graham, and let's think about that. I mean, realistically, yeah, he could push those dinosaurs aside, but Mr. Ferguson up there is more in love with his players from the 90s than actually moving aside. And you stay here, and I mean, it's not like Victor's a minimum wage worker in the United States. He actually can make a living and dodge his taxes. I mean, that's just what a lot of Well, I'm sorry. I have a lot of hate for players. They deep-seated problems. I could see them selling Hooper because you can make another striker easily. I mean, you can bring 3 or 4 up through the youth teams every year, or find a couple more, but are you going to be able to make another Victor?
Well, I think we're asking essentially 3 different questions here, but to address, can we make another Victor? Maybe. I don't know. Sure. Why not? I mean, where do we find Victor? Germinal beer shot for $900,000, 3 years ago when he was 19, and he's developed into the player he is just now. and developed he has. I mean, he was a very good player when he first came to Celtic, but he's come on in leaps and bounds. So my faith in the Celtic scouting department is such that I'm not going to say, oh, we'll never find another Victor Wanyama. I mean, we found Victor Wanyama in the first place. What's to stop us from doing it again? So, is there that now? The question then becomes: is there another Victor Wanyama? And the point I have to make is, why not? Now, something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, and making the comparison between Celtic, and this is going to go off on a bit of a tangent, but I promise I'll wrap it back around. When you take a look at Celtic and you compare it to EPL clubs, like let's use Arsenal as an example, and I think that's actually a good reference point because of their sort of financial model. They don't spend heaps of money on players, but what happens with Arsenal, when they go out, perfect example, they bring in Mertesacker, who at the time was a German national center half. Coming from Bundesliga, full of all sorts of plaudits. I think he was slightly overrated at the time, but certainly was a center half of note. Bring him into Arsenal. I think to a large extent he's detracted since he's come to Arsenal. I forget what they paid for. I think it was something along the lines of 5 to 10 million. So I'll just throw that out there. It might have been more, but I think that was sort of the price range. He has regressed since he's come to Arsenal. Now you turn that around. And there are countless examples of situations like that. Shinji Kagawa coming from Borussia Dortmund into Manchester United, I think he's regressed during this time. I think that a lot of the emphasis that the EPL clubs put on is, this is our system, we got to go out and buy players who are already ready to get into our system. What Celtic have done is gone out and gotten raw talent. I mean, players who have the athletic ability and sort of the general nous, and then we can sort of mold them into the sort of player that they can be. Whatever their potential is, and maximizing it. You see Victor Wanyama, brought him in from out of nowhere, and now he's being chased by EPL clubs all the time. Fraser Forster was the third choice keeper on the Newcastle reserve team 3 years ago. Now he's one of the premier rated goalkeepers in Europe. No question about it. Undisputed. He's challenging Joe Hart, who, you listen to the EPL-friendly media. I mean, Joe Hart's the greatest thing that ever happened to the scope of mankind. Fraser Forster's every bit, if not the better of the goalkeepers compared to Joe Hart. And that's down to the coaching that has been done at Lennoxtown. Emilio Ezaguri, another one, comes from the Honduran National League. I mean, seriously. Comes in and you have all sorts of clubs looking at him. West Ham, Liverpool are back in looking at him again. I don't quite think that he would fit in at either place. But that stands to the point. Celtic create legends. They don't buy them. Now, with that, bringing it back around, to sort of solidify the point that I was making earlier, Victor could stroll into that Man U lineup. He's been a childhood fan of theirs. He has every bit of the opportunity to win medals at Manchester United, as he would at compared to staying at Celtic, and he make maybe 10 times more money. So I have to look at this in a realistic manner. Yes, the points that you're making in terms of him staying and racking up all sorts of silverware and becoming a Celtic legend, yes, that is absolutely 100% true. But the reality of the image and the expectations and the situation as it is that he's at some point going to want to look elsewhere. And the elsewhere is going to be probably the English Premier League because they can pay him the most. He's got a very sort of ambitious agent at the moment who's looking to score him, the big deal, because that's a big payoff for him as well. So no one is going to steer him in the direction of staying at Celtic. Let's make that much clear. He's already knocked back a couple of contract extension offers from Celtic, and I don't see that stopping at any point. He's in contract with Celtic until 2015. So we're not in any hurry to sell him, but I think that works to our benefit because it means that other teams need to pay us a higher transfer fee in order to get his services. So in a idealistic world, Steve, I would agree with you. That he should probably stay at Celtic and develop his sort of legend. But the reality is, it's very, very unlikely.
Well, but you got to think about it this. You got to think about it this way. I mean, I'm not too surprised he said he's a Manchester United fan. Anybody from our age down to are Manchester United fans because of what Fox did. Fox did with them, and I mean, I begrudgingly will say that was a smart idea. But let's think of it this way: you could sell Hooper and you could get another, and maybe you could find another Victor somewhere down the line. But this shows something. Okay, you get too big, you say you like another team, we're going to move you off and get someone else. Well, how does that show for someone? I know this is not exactly the same thing, but Joe Ledley or someone else saying, well, I like this team, I want more money, what, you're going to sell me off? That doesn't provide any more help for the fans. I mean, you don't want to continually see players being sold off. I mean, you want to grow your core of the team. I mean, that's 90% of the reason why Manchester United's got, 30 titles at this point?
Steve, I agree with you completely. I mean, in an idealistic world, I would completely agree with you. But the reality is, you have agents in play who will get in players' heads and say, listen, we need to make a move at this point. Players will come out and we've seen it countless times. They'll put, the come and get me sign around their neck. And after that, they're pretty much worthless. I mean, the sort of trend that bucked that a bit was, the example you brought up, Luka Modric, just a little while ago. Luka Modric put out the come and get me sign around his neck, and it looked like he was on his way over to Chelsea. And they refused to sell him at that point. And he had to come out and he had to play for Spurs. That's sort of that's not the norm. But to the credit to Luka Modric, he was very professional about it. He came out and he gave them another year of his best. I mean, he was exceptional, even still. And he wound up, getting the move to Real Madrid. Now we can, sort of debate the benefit of him going to Real Madrid. He's barely getting off the bench, et cetera, et cetera. But, the fact is, the clubs don't have enough leverage to be able to dictate to players. They just don't. So when players come in and they hand in a transfer request, and the money is such that it's likely that we would maximize our return while having a reasonable chance of getting another Victor or creating another Victor or creating another player that isn't going to do the same things as Victor but does something fantastic in a different way. We're always going to evolve. I think that's the realistic angle to this. If Manchester United come in the summertime and they say, right, we'll give you $12 million for Victor, and Victor says, sell me now because I want to go to Manchester United. Celtic needs to think about this and say, well, do we sell him now or do we wait another year and only get half that? And in the meantime, is his heart really going to be in playing at Celtic? Yeah, and that's just the reality of it. The clubs don't have enough leverage in order to make this an ideal scenario.
Yeah, and that's the problem. As I said earlier today when I wrote something about clubs not caring anymore. I mean, you've got to be able to turn a profit in. I mean, they're going to even if they wait a year, they're going to make a profit off of Victor regardless. I mean, they're going to get more than double what they got him for. So I mean, I just don't see the need to sell someone that's that young until he's completely gone mentally. So, but
no, it's a good point. It's a good point, Erase. Definitely.
Yeah.
Steve, give your show a punt as well. And you guys are on, on the weekends as well as midweek on Tuesday. Let us know, where we can find the Twitter feed for yourself as well as the show, and tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I'm the Tuesday host for the podcast for Vuvuzela. Eric Nash does the Saturday show in Philadelphia on 860. He has a couple writers from SB Nation about the Union. I do more of the down-to-earth type of American type of stories that you don't hear about. I've got various co-hosts. I mean, I've got your favorite Brit on pretty regularly.
Oh yeah. Mr. Celtic will never beat Barcelona. Yeah,
And the man who doesn't like the old NASL, but that's
he's got more clubs than Jack Nicklaus. But I digress.
But anyway, I'm also on Twitter. You'll see Graham and I sparring pretty much regularly now that I got a smartphone all the time. I'm speaking on soccer. Just drop the R at the end, and that's me. I do the show Tuesday 6 to 7:30. I've had Graham on at least 3 times, and I'm going to think of doing another special show about the MLS and have him on. This week, fortunately, I've got a couple people on. I've got Derek Ritchie from the Straight Red Card, and I got someone from. I wanted to get a player from an American-based team to just because talking to fans, talking to writers is fun, but if you can get inside of a team, it's fine. I got a GM from a women's team out on the West Coast, the LA Strikers, to be a regular contributor. So
very nice.
We're good. Yeah. Now the only unfortunate thing is she's a Manchester United fan, and I'm being engulfed by them. Keith Kokinda is a Manchester United fan. Russ Goldman's son's a Manchester United fan. Vanessa's a Manchester United fan. And, of course, as you know, Meg's a Barcelona fan. So, I mean, I've got to start finding more smart people like Graham, Rev, Paul. You're catching my drift. People that don't follow the norm around here, because it's getting kind of annoying trying to hear this. Alex Ferguson is the greatest thing since sliced bread. He can't do anything wrong. Look at Giggs walk around out there and cheat on everybody.
Imogen Thomas, CSC. Fantastic. Steve, you're fighting the good fight. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much for calling in, and keep up the great work. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you later.
Thanks, Bo. So that's Steve Brandt from the Vuvuzela Blast show. You can find them on Tuesday nights. They're available on the internet. You can listen in. And we're going to take a quick break here. Brendan, sit tight. I'm going to play a quick song, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Green Brigade, wrap up thoughts about today's game, look ahead to the St Mirren game next weekend. Obviously, it's huge. It's everything to play for with regard to this cup, especially considering what took place at Hampden last time. We need to get back to Hampden, and we need to right those wrongs. And just more talk about the Green Brigade and more transfer rumors coming out in the middle of the season. But stay tuned. We're going to play a quick song, and we'll be right back.
It was on a Sunday evening. The sun shone in the sky as he walked on his way to the Gaelic ground, never thinking he was going to die. As he crossed the checkpoint, the sound of gunfire came. As the news spread through the border town, Aidan McInnes was slain. Oh, why did you do it? Have you not the guts to say? You say it was an accident, or even a ricochet. But like Loco and Gibraltar, your eyes are well renowned. You murdered Aidan McInnes on his way to the Gaelic ground. For years he was harassed by the forces of the crown. As he went to work each morning and from his native town, the soldiers swore they'd get him for reasons no one could say. And sure enough, they murdered him in cold blood that sunny day. Oh, why did you do it? Have you not the guts to say? You say it was an accident, or even a ricochet. But like Loco and Gibraltar, your eyes are well renowned. You murdered Aidan McInnes on his way to the Gaelic ground. To say it was an accident was the greatest crime of all. To his heart-broken family, it was the worst that can befall. cross that marks the lonely spot where Aidan he was shot down. As he walked that Sunday evening on his way to the Gaelic ground. Sing it with us. Oh, why did you do it? Have you not the guts to say? You say it was an accident or even a ricochet. But like Logo and Gibraltar, your eyes are well and now. You murdered Aidan McAnespie on his way to the Gaelic ground. You say it was an accident or even a ricochet. But like Loco and Gibraltar, your lies are well renowned. You murdered Aidan McAnespie on his way to the Gaelic ground. Aidan's life had ended. It was time for Judgment Day. A soldier jumped out from the tower, then the coward he slipped away. God's curse on you, England, for this cruelty that you have done. But God will have the final say when your day of judgment comes. Oh, why did you do it? Have you not the guts to say? You say it was an accident or even a ricochet. But like Loco and Gibraltar, your eyes are well renowned. You murdered Aidan McAnespie on his way to the Gaelic ground. Yes, you murdered young Aidan McAnespie on his way to the Gaelic ground.
You're listening to Beyond the Waves Celtic Football Show. My name is Graham Wilson, and 25 years marking the anniversary of the death of Aidan McAnespie, and still no justice in that just sad situation, and rest in peace, and just absolute disgrace. So marked that anniversary this past Thursday, and so that was in tribute. Also might have noticed as I opened the show with a bit of NWA, and we've talked a bit on the show in the past about the connection between rap music and hip hop, and telling the story of the struggle of the African American people here in the United States, and the sort of oppression that they've gone up against, and that's essentially their folk music, and is akin to the rebel music that you'd find in Ireland. That sort of talks about similar circumstances, similar situations. And there's so many analogies between, at NWA. I mean, obviously the language is a bit aggressive for certainly lots of folks, but I think that the analogy between what NWA talks about with what's going on currently with the Green Brigade, I think is very very congruent. So I thought that was appropriate. Speaking of which, the Green Brigade, the amount of hassle that they've had to deal with over the past, well, I mean, since their inception, really, but it's really heated up this year. It's since the passage of this Offensive Behavior Act, which is nothing more than an evening of the score from the SMP, in my mind, it's just been atrocious. What they've had to deal with in terms of their rights being taken down, and the amount of hassle that they've been subject to. With these focus group officers coming and chapping their door and harassing them and talking about, their wives and their loved ones and asking them how they're doing. I mean, it's disgusting, especially in light of what took place yesterday in Berwick. And I think I don't need to go into any more specifics in terms of what was going on with that. But it really came full circle for me last weekend when I was at the Dundee United game. I mean, here, as I've done to death, I was sick, and my pockets are full of tissues and lozenges and just meds generally. So, and I got a lot of stick for the jacket. Yeah, you know what? If you don't like the jacket, do what Yampy says and you can kiss my ass. So I had an officer approach me, not approaching the turnstiles, just walking around Jock's team and says, right, let's see your pockets here. Do you have any bottles or weapons? So I open up my pocket. I'm like, all I have is tissues, lozenges. I have the flu. You should have seen the look on the guy's face. I hope he got the flu. But that's the sort of thing that folks are having to deal with going to the game, and it's just wrong. The fact that there's like that stop and search mentality of the police. I mean, I saw it firsthand. And then what happened with the Green Brigade, we were sitting in our seats and 111 was empty. And I looked at Paul. I said, what's the crack with the Green Brigade? Is there anything on Twitter? He said, he has no idea. And then you get, of course, the people, just chiming in about, oh, here they are with another boycott and, doing themselves no favors. Well, excuse me. You have no idea what happened to lead up to that. Of course they were harassed. And then, so they got bothered from the police as they approached the turnstiles. Some of their members were picked out, faces on mugshots, people being told that they were banned, 1 game ban, a permanent ban here and there for whatever. No charges were levied. It was even allayed to a steward that the focus group had a target of 3 arrests. Doesn't matter who, they just had a quota, 3 arrests. So the Green Brigade, in response, and quite rightly, I would say, walked out. And when they walked around to the front of the stadium where they were going to make a demonstration, there were police on horses to the tune of probably 24 police who escorted them out with the same usual harassment. Then to come to find out this week, one of the members of this focus group, who's been commissioned by the SMP to enforce this Offensive Behavior Act, which essentially criminalizes football fans, not just Celtic fans, but especially Celtic fans. This guy on his Facebook page has, as a description of what he does, he's a pest control, fumigator. I'm just the level of vitriol. It's just disgraceful. I want to hear from the listeners. If you're listening in, the Skype lines are open. I want to know what you think, because the Green Brigade have gotten a very, very hard time by a sizable amount of the support, as well as some folks who do a bit of writing, who fancy themselves to be on our side, and they constantly get stick, which I don't understand even in the slightest. I don't think anybody does. And I don't understand why. Now, full credit to the homeboys. I don't know how you could have possibly missed it, but the homeboys had 2 of the members of the Green Brigade on, and it was a fantastic interview. It was a fantastic opportunity. First off, for the Green Brigade to come out and to say their piece, to explain their side of the story, and to put a human element behind some of the allegations, some of the images that folks try and portray about them, such as they feel as though they're better supporters than everybody else, that they're just attention-seeking, that they're hell-bent on destroying the name of the club. These are things that I've heard people say, which is just completely out of order. And when you listen to them speak on the Homeboys show, you understand that they're just Celtic supporters. This is what I've been saying for months. They're just Celtic supporters like you and I. They've just organized in a way where they will sing passionately for the entire 90 minutes, and they create an environment in Celtic Park that hasn't been seen in years. And without them, as I saw firsthand, the place is like a morgue. The atmosphere is not even close to being the same. Now, you could talk about the pyros. Oh, they let off pyros. Listen to the Homeboys interview, where they explain exactly what happened with that and exactly what they're doing to address this issue. Now, another element to this is the fact that they have tried to reach out to the board, Peter Lawwell, Neil Lennon, and their efforts have been tossed aside, which I find to be shocking. Peter Lawwell and Celtic released a statement in response saying that they had tried to reach out and the Green Brigade never got back to them. Now, if you want to show leadership and you really do have some idea of what is going on in this situation, if you really do have your finger on the pulse, which is an essential trait for someone who is in charge of Celtic to do, then you understand that this is a pivotal issue. Not just for the club, not just for the atmosphere, but the entire support. You can make the case that if they stamp out the Green Brigade, by they I mean the focus group, they stamp them out, the Green Brigade, God forbid, goes away next year. There's none of that. Well, who are they going to target then? Because they have quotas. So essentially, just the common punter should be thankful to the Green Brigade because it saves, I think, very likely it saves a lot of folks the attention from the police. It really draws all the attention police. They're like a buffer for everybody else. If they go away, there is no more buffer. They're going to come after me and you. But in addition to that, why should we have something that special taken away from us? Why should we have to sacrifice such a special environment that they create so that this political issue can be justified by a glorified Gestapo who are accountable to no one? It's disgraceful. Now, the Green Brigade handed out leaflets today, which detail, and this was at the game, and it details exactly what they're going through. From the perspective of the charges that have been levied towards them, with regard to what they faced last weekend when they couldn't come into the ground. I think this is good. I think the Green Brigade needs to do a lot more of this. They've always had this sort of aura or this reputation, I guess, as being a very inclusive, a very sort of mystical entity. Nobody knows their leadership. Nobody knows, a lot of their names. They're not looking to get on, the common media places. They're not looking for fame. They're just looking to come out and create a fantastic atmosphere and support their team. But I think it's time for them as well to come out and communicate a bit more. And I think through these channels, it does a world of good. Because in the absence of this communication, you get the common Celtic supporter filling in the blanks with whatever they sort of project on the situation. And that's where you get these folks to saying the Green Brigade are a bunch of rascals that are bringing the club's name down, and they're just a bunch of glory hunters, and they're trying to advance their name. And their own agenda is about themselves. They think they're bigger than the club, which is absolute nonsense. And hopefully, by the Green Brigade coming out and speaking to the Homeboys, and through this leaflet, and hopefully more of this sort of activity, they will help to quell a lot of these negative notions that are completely unfounded. And they were fantastic today. I'm the other disappointment is that the Dundee United game that I went to last Saturday, the Green Brigade weren't there. I completely understand why they weren't, but I'm disappointed nonetheless. But it was a very stark reminder for me of how much they mean. I've seen Celtic Park with them and without them. And everything that I suspected in terms of their impact on the environment and the atmosphere was true. And I think it's time that we stand up and we support them. I've been saying this for months. But it's time that everybody got a grip and did a bit of research and got the facts about what their intent is, about what they have and have not done, and what their intentions are going forward. And I think that after you listen to the Homeboys show, you may have a different perspective on them. So, great job to Harper and Jason and Joe and the Parrot and everybody over there, Paul, for putting that together. I think that was perfect timing. And it's time for Peter Lawwell and Neil Lennon to see how important of an issue this is and not just throw their hands up, and say, well, they didn't get back to us. We tried, but no. You need to be more persistent than that. You need to do whatever is necessary to facilitate that meeting. Full stop. That's what being a leader is. That's what a bit of urgency is. If you want to fix this, okay, for the good of the club, for the good of the support, for the good of the atmosphere, then you will act with a bit more urgency than your typical bullshit of doing the bare minimum and saying, well, we tried. No, you didn't. And I know that Peter Lawwell has the fight in him. I mean, we've seen the line in the sand that he's drawn with regard to this whole Rangers situation. We need him to show the exact same level of urgency when dealing with the police on behalf of Celtic supporters. Forget about this Green Brigade and they think they're better than everybody else. They are Celtic supporters. And Peter Lawwell needs to stand up and fight on their behalf as well, regardless of what they've done in the past. We're now joined by Yampy. Yampy, LL, thanks for joining us.
Yo, what's up, G? How you doing, man?
I'm, on my way to getting worked up in a lather, talking about the Green Brigade,
With good reason, man. I don't know. Listen to you talk about Peter Lawwell a little bit. Just, I don't know. I have my opinions on the guy, too. He doesn't seem like the most trustworthy dude in the world. I think he has, the essential qualities of, a snake oil salesman. I think he's ultimately the guy, all he really cares about is making a profit and how much he can put back in his pocket more so than anything else.
Well, that much is true. I would definitely wholeheartedly agree with that. And to be honest, to be fair, a lot of people want to say, but look at how good of a financial position we're in right now, and look at all the money that he's brought in, and look at how well the club's doing right now. Let me tell you something. If Neil Lennon didn't come in and didn't do the things that he's done with this club, if we continued on the trajectory that we were on prior to Neil Lennon coming in, Peter Lawwell would be hopefully on the balls of his ass right now. Peter Lawwell didn't cause this team to come together. Peter Lawwell didn't go out and find these players. He didn't coach them up. He didn't create Fraser Forster. He signs the checks, okay? Fair play for opening up the checkbook for as much as he has. Even though on a net consideration, a net basis, it really hasn't been a positive. So credit where it's due to a certain extent, but let's not blow this thing overboard. The reason why we are where we are right now is because of Neil Lennon, not Peter Lawwell.
Well, Neil Lennon and the guys who obviously help, judge talent and who to sign and who not to sign, their scouting type people. Those are the guys earning their paychecks.
Exactly.
Just like you said, Lawwell's just the signature. That's all he is.
Exactly. But when it comes to situations like this issue with the Green Brigade, he comes up missing, and it's always lip service. It's always, well, I tried, and it's like a half-ass bare minimum effort.
Well, that's the thing. It's like plausible deniability. It's
Exactly.
Like, I didn't know there was a fucking problem.
Exactly.
Really? How many boycotts were there this year already?
Exactly.
And it's like, I didn't notice there was a whole section of people missing.
Nail on
it's
head.
this whole, I didn't know anything was going on.
Right. He doesn't do things until he has to do it.
Right. It's not like the guy's not exactly killing himself to stand up for anybody. I use the analogy, like, if there were cops in my house and they were beating the shit out of my mother, you can be guaranteed that I'd be all over the cops. Does this guy look like he's made any fucking effort whatsoever to do anything about the cops?
Well, it goes back to your original point. It hasn't affected him financially. But when and if it does, he will spring into action, I promise you. The problem is, if he waits any longer, it's going to be too late.
Well, it's already starting to, and you can't tell me that there's no trickle-down effect there. I mean, if you're a supporter and you see the most vociferous, excited, crazy-ass people in your club's park getting thrown the fuck out over dumb shit, they're swiping cards and saying you have a one-game banning order and you have this and that. I mean, it's like eventually people aren't going to show up because it feels like, well, this is kind of a fucking hostile atmosphere.
Well, here's the other question. Their statement came out and said we had nothing to do with it. But the open question that still hasn't been answered is, if the club had nothing to do with it, then how were the cops coming up and saying that individual fans had banning orders from the stadium? The club is the one that does that. So how did the club have nothing to do with it, but the cops got banning orders?
I mean, you understand the procedure there far better than I do, but I imagine it's something to the effect that you're swiping it's like season ticket holders must have like a card or something that's barcoded in or whatever.
Yeah.
And if the turnstile don't turn and it locks up and it tells you you're suspended from a game, well, the fucking cops don't keep the database at Celtic Park. That's the club.
Bingo.
So, I mean, you can sit there and dump all this shit on Focus and Strathclyde and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, people are not getting through the turnstiles because of the club.
Exactly.
Not just because of the cops. The cops definitely are a major part. We saw that fucking video yesterday, all them scumbags sitting there doing all that scummy chanting and everything, and the Focus cops just standing there in the video looking at them like, oh, man, this is great, But when they're at Celtic Park, yeah, they're hassling customers. Mm-hmm. So if you're hassling my profit margin, you're hassling the people that put money in my pocket, I'll be the first one to throw you out. But Peter Lowell's not doing that. Well, and whoever his security operations guy is, I can't even remember his name.
Roddy Hawthorne.
Yeah, and there you go. There's this whole thing. It's almost like the mafia. It's like everybody's kind of disconnected in a way. Oh, well, I didn't know about it. Oh, well, I don't know about it. And that way, nobody can take all that blame together. It's dumped down on someone else. It's dumped down on someone else. The club has to take some ownership of this problem with the Green Brigade. They created a fucking hostile environment. And I give all the Green Brigade guys all the credit in the world because they're still supporting the team.
Exactly.
Busting their balls.
Exactly. Throughout all of this, they still haven't backed down. When a lot of people would have just chucked it and said, you know what, this isn't worth it. I'm getting my door chapped. I'm getting hassled when I come back from holiday. The police are harassing me. When I just want to go and watch a football game. They persist. They stick through it, and they're to be applauded with that. Another indication of how the club works and reacts. You may have heard over the past several weeks, the club had a survey that went out, a questionnaire of season ticket holders. And, the overwhelming majority of feedback that they got was the fact that the season ticket prices are too high. Is it any wonder that now all of a sudden there's rumors that the season ticket prices are going down next year across the board?
This is starting to, it's where the English call it going pear-shaped for them. Have that big profit that Lowell so loves.
Well, exactly. They're concerned about the drop in the attendances. From last season being upwards of 50,000, now all of a sudden this season 10,000 less people are turning up. And the overwhelming issue is it's too expensive. So they see something that is cutting into their bottom line, they act. So, but to answer your point, why aren't they acting right now? And on behalf of the Green Brigade, the Green Brigade have already paid their season tickets for this season, and they have no indication whatsoever that they would walk away at any point. It's another example of the club taking advantage of the supporters, exemplifying the lyrics in over and over.
I mean, I think the Bundesliga has set the kind of like the standard right now of the affordable ticket and fan-friendly kind of environment and everything. The prices across the UK for tickets are just, it would appear from all outward appearances to be somewhere like south of insane. it's for what they offer. I hear about the pies there. What is it like that Paradox talks about, like with the gray pies or don't eat the pies in Celtic Park or whatever. It's like they try to skimp by on everything, and it's like so they can maximize profits. It's not maximizing the fan experience. It's not maximizing the supporter experience. It's maximizing how much fucking money can we squeeze out of these people to keep our pockets filled. And it's a horseshit attitude to have. Because, I mean, eventually you're going to see, like they had a shade under 40,000 today. These are tough economic times, man. People just aren't going to show up to see fucking Dundee get smoked.
Exactly.
And it's not because they don't love Celtic. These are all great fans, but Jesus Christ, it's almost like blackmail. You're like, oh, you're not a true Celtic supporter unless you give me all your fucking money. I mean, that's bullshit. Give them a fucking fan-friendly experience. Stop trying to bleed the goddamn populace dry.
It seems so simple as well. I mean, you fill the park with more people turn out, more people buy jerseys, more people buy pies and concessions and so on. And no, it's not. I mean, for a marginal decrease in prices, you could drastically increase the amount of people that are turning out, the amount of consumption of the club, and thereby increase your bottom line. But it's the typical myopic standpoint, the typical myopic attitude of Peter Lawwell. Focus on the next 3 months instead of the next 3 years.
He's got this smug fucking attitude. It's like the same goddamn thing with the jerseys and the whole run-up to the Real Madrid thing last year. Like, it's almost like, oh, fuck you. I'm just here to take your dollars. Like, really, dude? That whole setup was a joke. And it's like, oh, okay, well, this is what we were offering. If you don't like it, screw you. I mean, it's just like, where is... He needs, like, a PR enema, like nobody's business. He really does, because he seems like a bit of a cock. And I don't know, you met he never meets someone like me because I'm just like an asshole. But you met him. What was your take on him?
He seemed to be genuine enough. He seemed to be sincere enough. But I've met plenty of other people who seemed to be very sincere, and in the end turned out to be exactly the opposite. That's not to say that Lawwell is like that. But I find much more credibility in the actions of a person rather than what they tell me face to face, when they very well could be just telling me whatever I want to hear.
Okay, here's an example. Where's the follow-up on that cocksucker with the pest thing? Okay? Now, if I'm the owner of this club and this smug motherfucker has been hassling my customers, I'm going down to Strathclyde every day saying, what are you doing about this guy? What are you doing about this guy? What are you doing about this guy?
Well, there is none of that.
They fucking fire him, which is what they should do. But did they fire him? No, they just gave him some cozy desk job where he's receiving a full pay, not even withholding his paychecks until they find out whether or not the guy's really the total scumbag that all these people say he is. Well, Peter Law was just like, oh, it's taken care of. Oh, fuck it.
Well, and it goes back to your original claim. It's plausible deniability. Oh, well, that's off my desk now. I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to start calling him Ostrich Man, because he just buries his head in the sand and waits for things to go away instead of dealing with them head on. Ostrich Man. You know what? I'll call him Sandy. Sandy Lawwell, because he buries his head in the sand and waits for things to go away instead of being a man, standing up and dealing with them.
Right. I mean, and you know how much clout he has over that whole organization, man. I guarantee you, Neil Lennon would love to say things about this, and more so than, like, it seems like he's carrying, basically the party line.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because you don't want to piss off the real bigwig there.
Well, I can't blame Neil Lennon for what he's doing. I mean, he's got to toe the line to a certain extent.
This is the kind of power this guy fucking wields, and why he really feels like he doesn't have to answer to anybody. And it's...
Well, you know what? Here's the deal. And James Armstrong in chat just brought up a good point. He does have to answer to someone. He answers to the Celtic support as a collective. And we've seen what the Celtic support as a collective can achieve by, this proposed decrease in season ticket prices. So the Celtic support spoke with their pocketbooks and said, this is too expensive. Celtic board, Peter Lawwell, respond by what is projected to be a decrease in season book prices. So
how much are we saving? How much are Celtic supporters getting back? Was
well,
it 35 pounds instead of 40 pounds a game?
Well, I think we don't have any specifics with that at this point. I think that issue is to one side. The real point here is the fact that we, as the Celtic support, collectively can affect change. James Armstrong came out in chat and said we should get a petition together that mandates that the board meets with the Green Brigade, on a equally frequent basis as they do with the Celtic Trust, with the Celtic Supporters Association, and some of the other groups, like they do on a very regular basis. And the Celtic Trust, to their credit, came out with a very supportive statement of the Green Brigade. And I would hope that the Celtic Trust will continue that support and facilitate some sort of meeting between the Green Brigade and the club. Because the real issue isn't with the Green Brigade and the club. The real issue is with the Green Brigade and the police. But the Green Brigade are getting no backing whatsoever from the club.
Right.
And that's a major, major problem.
I mean, do you seriously believe? I mean, I don't know. It sounded real dodgy to me when they said, the club was like, we've only had 2 complaints so far.
Oh, it's bullshit.
I don't know. If you have whole sections of people boycotting and you have people getting fucking arrested and lifted left and right, I you know what? I'm not sure. What do they consider? What is it? I have to send a letter? I have to send an email? What the fuck do they?
Well, you know what? To be fair, and completely honesty, when I saw that, I said, right, this is cute, but how applicable is that? So I sent an email immediately complaining about the fact that I was hassled by the police outside the stadium just for having tissues in my pocket. And said, okay, let's see if they respond. And within 24 hours, Ronnie Hawthorne responded. And it wasn't like a general cut and paste. I don't know if it was him or one of his handlers that actually responded, but I did get a customized response.
And what was it?
I complained that I had nothing but tissues in my pocket, and yet I'm being held up like I have weapons, or bottles or whatever. And the response was to the tune of, "I'm sorry that you undertook the reaction that you did from the police. It's never much fun being sick," something like that. Which to be fair, I mean I appreciate it. The fact that it wasn't like some stock email that they cut and paste. And it said, listen, the laws over here allow for police to be able to do that so that we can keep a safe environment within the ground.
Right, there they go with the health and safety thing again. We can't move laterally because we have health and safety. We can't
listen.
Up because we have health and safety. You can't bring tissues in because we have health and safety.
Well, okay, then I'll snot all over your railing, and then we'll see about your.
That's what I mean. It's such a ridiculous gray.
Well,
area
but
to get away with what they want.
But let me give them credit. Let me give them credit along the lines of they did respond. I sent them an email, and I was not expecting to get any sort of response, and I did, and it was customized. Then we can put the validity. I hear you. We can put the validity of them, sort of using another cop out. That's certainly is another issue. But the fact that they responded tells me that if there were a complaint such as what the Green Brigade experienced, I would think that they would respond. And this also gives them and also supporters a medium to levy these complaints in a very organized manner so that they can, on their end, total up the metrics a little bit better. Because I agree completely with you. You're right. I mean, there's no way that they only had 2 complaints about the police. I mean, you see dozens of them on Twitter after every game. So, it's ridiculous.
I mean, you can't hassle that many people and sit there and say that, it was just 2 complaints since we started doing this.
No, it's ridiculous.
It defies common logic, okay? I don't know. I think in that aspect, it's just kind of ridiculous. I mean, they're hassling the best thing going for Celtic.
Well, I think also at a root level, obviously you and I, we have a lot of interaction through Twitter. I think a lot of these people need to stop with the sniping at the Green Brigade. I think you need to educate yourself. Listen to the Homeboys podcast. Read this leaflet. Find out exactly what they're going through, exactly where they're coming from before you start saying that they think that they're bigger than the club and, they're a detriment and, all this stuff.
Right.
We need to stand up and support them.
Right. They're at the very minimum, these are Celtic supporters. So how the fuck do you throw your fellow supporters under the bus about anything? Seriously?
Agreed.
Let's try to talk about things like grown-ups here, And the fact is these guys dedicate a whole fuckload worth of time towards this club. They're not printing these goddamn oversized banners on 8.5 by 11 papers on their fucking printer. Somebody's got to sit out there and paint all this shit. These guys are breaking their balls for a team that's throwing them under the fucking bus, and for some people that are like, oh, they're just glory hounds. Really? Because when they're not there, the place sounds like you can fucking hear a pin drop. So slam them, throw them under the bus, do what you want, but let's keep it real. Let's fucking keep it real. Without the Green Brigade there, it's a whole different environment. And that's the reality of that story. You don't have to like it, but that's the truth.
Amen. Very well said. What were your thoughts on the game today?
Awesome today.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because getting along the same lines of this, the people on Twitter, a lot of people calling out saying Anthony Stokes needs to go. We need to get rid of him. Since he's come back, we've been a goal scoring, just machine. Coincidence?
You know why they're doing that, dude. You have your little clique of people that aren't very fond of his.
He's an IRA member.
There you go. Okay. You can just put it out in plain speak there, too. And you know why it is. It's a whole different team when he's out there.
I don't agree with his lifestyle.
Yeah. It's like, oh, boy, here we go with the whole Republican issue again.
He needs to stop with the politics.
Yeah, I know. Can't we just move on from that? It's like, really? No, it's part of the team's identity. Not so much the whole IRA thing, but, the whole connection to Ireland. If you want to go fucking support a team that's been sterilized and neutered of its heritage, go support Hibs.
He gives the club a bad reputation.
Easter Road is like you could crash an airplane into Easter Road and not hit a fucking person there. So they'll take everybody. They're happy to forget their history. Go join them. Go support them. Otherwise, understand that this is a team about a people and a cause. Always has been, always will be. Standing up for the underdog, standing up for people that have political kind of connotations that deal with issues such as, freedom.
He needs to stop going to IRA funerals.
Oh, my God, yes. I know. You know what? Because everybody has a perfect set of friends in their life, okay? I have a bunch of friends, and some of them aren't the most, good. They're not the most upstanding citizens in the world. Should I forget them? Should I just abandon my friends and not talk to them anymore? No, these are people I grew up with. That doesn't change who I am. I'm my own person. But when you sit there and try to just stereotype people because of the people that you associate with, well, that kind of makes you a bit of an asshole. So, you know why people are on about Stokes and stuff. But this is a much better team within the club. Ledley, I love the direction the Celtics going in. I think this is a great team. I really, really do. I think that the Juventus thing was a fucking disgrace from the start. And you know what, man? Everybody was killing Ambrose, and I joked a little bit about it too. But the guy made an effort. He tried. That whole game wasn't his fault.
People have bad games. It happens, And yes, he got put in when he probably shouldn't have been. Okay, you can say that in hindsight, but the amount of stick that he's gotten, especially in light of the fact that he had a brilliant game against Dundee United. He came out, he scored a goal. He was fantastic in the back. I don't see it. Now.
I'm not blaming him for the way the ref that game.
Nah.
That was a fucking disgrace.
I don't know. He made a mistake.
Yeah, he screwed up the beginning game and set the tempo a little bit. That's fine. But that was one goal. Fact of the matter is that fucking ref the ref made the game about the ref instead of a Champions League match. And he let Juventus get away with fucking murder. Absolute, unequivocal murder. It was a joke. Really, it became a joke. And I think on a more even playing field, that game could have ended up easily 1-1. I mean, I don't think Celtic were totally out. I mean, that first half, they weren't outclassed in that game at all. They were pretty much dictating the pace except for that goal.
Agreed.
I mean, but you can't. I mean, Juventus, you saw it got in Hooper's head. He's waving his arms at his teammates because he's not getting the perfect service now right at his feet and everything. And it just, the ref is what set the tone more than that first goal. That first goal, it changed things for about 5-10 minutes. That's fine, but Celtic, they recovered and started to dictate the play again. But the ref has got to do his fucking job. He's got to do his job. He basically handed Juventus that game. He put Celtic behind the 8 ball because he was a shit referee. Now, I mean, what the fuck? We're still going to win the title in Scotland and everything, and that's awesome. I dig that. But that being said, the Celtic had reason to be pissed about that game. They got screwed.
Yeah, they sure did.
So,
Yampy, good stuff, man. Thanks for calling in.
Gee, thank you. I hope you feel better, bro.
All right, appreciate it.
Take it easy, man.
See ya. That's Yampy getting in touch. I didn't even play his music. I don't even have iTunes open. Forget it. I'll play it the next time. Let's see. We'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to get Ball Deep. I think he was trying to give us a call as well. So we'll get him on, and then we'll wrap it up. But trying to figure out something to do at this point. And then I just got to find a song to put on here. I got one. Stay tuned. We'll play a song real quick, and then we'll get Ball Deep on here, and then we'll wrap it up. Thanks for listening. Extra long show. We'll wrap it up here in a few minutes, but first, quick song, and we'll be right back.
Place to play. You said that you've never been, but all the things that you've seen slowly fade away. So I start a revolution from my bed, 'cause you said the brains I had went to my head. Step outside, summertime. Beside the fireplace, take that look from off your face. You ain't ever gonna burn my heart out.
Are you listening to Beyond the Wave Celtic Football Show? My name is Graham Wilson, and just got off the phone there with Yampy. Good discussion, about the Green Brigade and just the amount of abuse that they come under. I mean, for what they sing or a banner, they try to bring out a banner that has zombies on it, and the police, consider that offensive. Anything that's offending them, essentially, they get done for. And what's interesting is every case that they've brought in front of a magistrate thus far has been laughed out of court. So, I mean, what are we doing here other than justifying just the stupidest political bill that's ever been put up, in my opinion? Just horrific. But Deco's getting in touch here with sending us an instant message. Deco saying, Devil's Advocate, the Green Brigade did that display for Barca. They were in the ground for 3 days prior to the game. There must be dialogue with them. I'm 100% for the Green Brigade. Yeah, I'm sure there's dialogue between themselves and the club. But when it comes to the issues that they're facing, there isn't the sort of reaction, there isn't the sort of attention from those in power, considering they are paying supporters of the club. Peter Lawwell considers them customers. Let's not kid ourselves. So the fact that his customers are being hassled should be higher up on his radar. We're now joined by John from Ball Deep, Myrtle Beach, CSC. John, how are you?
What's up, G? How are you?
Oh, doing fantastic. I'm
excellent.
I'm recovering.
Excellent. Yeah, I had to laugh because reading your tweets while you were over there. I had the same exact thing the first time I ever went over. I came back and basically coughed up lungs the whole way back on that 8-9 hour flight back to Atlanta. It was ridiculous. I was sick for like 3 weeks.
I know. It's not enough that you have like an 8-hour flight over there with the recycled air and people coughing and sneezing all over you. But then you get there and it's like, everybody's smoking 3 cigarettes at a time. And, it's it's just...
Yeah, I had to beg the flight attendant, please don't take this plastic bottle away. She's like, why? I'm like, because I've been using it for spittoon for the last 8 hours.
Exactly.
Ugh. Anyway,
but it's worth it.
Listen, I wanted to go through a couple things. One was, the first one is Ranier. I don't understand what he's complaining about. He got beat the first 3 or 4 corners today. We should have been down quickly because he's just getting beat in the air. And even the goal that we gave up that last week.
Yes,
he dove in on that and got beat to his left, and it was just hard.
I agree completely.
He's complaining about how he wants to play, and I'm like, dude, you got to come up big if you want to play. You can't get beat in the air 3 times in a row. And even we had Fox Soccer today, so I watched that instead of listening to Celtic TV, and twice they said it was Wilson, when both times Wilson was behind Rania.
Exactly.
He was the one who got beat.
Exactly. Yeah, Rania, and this is the consistent sort of malady with his defending, especially from set pieces and corners. You have to continually move your feet. You have to keep moving, and like you said, he found himself on the wrong side of the Dundee player to the point where it was dangerous. Aside from the fact that the Dundee player mistimed their jump, Rania wasn't doing anything to sort of quell that. So you're absolutely right. Now, in terms of him rejecting contract offers, I don't think he's in any sort of position to reject any offer. The fact that he's getting an offer at all is shocking to me. He's a trainer's table aficionado at best. He plays 3 games and then he tears his calf muscle and then he's out for half the year. Why are we even extending his contract at all? And then he wants to push it back. And to that point, if he keeps pushing back contracts, why are we continuing to play him?
Well, they've done that. If you noticed that they did the same thing with Hooper.
Yeah.
When they said either you sign it by the end of the transfer window, or we're just not going to offer you again. And then Lennon said again this week that we're still waiting on Hooper to decide if he's going to sign the offer. So I don't know.
He's gone.
What to believe out of that? So
he's gone.
That's how they roll. No, I don't say that he's staying or going. That's just how they've been portraying the whole contract situation. So it doesn't surprise me that they keep offering to see what they can get out of it. So
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's a good point. Yeah. Now, yeah. To a similar extent, let me get your thoughts on this. Why are we still playing Miko?
I don't understand. You've got Watt there, and if you're playing Dundee at the bottom of the table, Miko should be has stuff packed already and back to La Liga.
Well, hit it on the head there with regard to why is Miku keeping Tony Watt out of the team? Tony Watt is the future for this team. Miku is going back to wherever the hell he came from at the end of the season. That much is sure. We're not going to buy him on a permanent basis. So why are we going to continue on with him? Why is he keeping Tony Watt even off the bench?
Even Lasad, for that matter. Lasad's ours.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out what the story is there. If you're looking at the quick turnaround of a club to be able to turn profit, then Watt's not it right now, and it's not Miku because you're not going to sign him and sell him on. The person you're going to make the profit on the next 18 months is going to be Lasad.
Agreed.
So why is he on the outside looking in when Miku walks on? And he doesn't really give anything. And I don't think, to be honest with you, the way that you see Stokes and Hooper getting on again, the rest of this year, I don't think either one of them, any three of them, are going to find any time in the team as soon as Samras gets healthy. Because I feel bad for any defense in our league that's going to play against Samras on the left, and then you've got Hooper and Stokes up front because they're going to play that ridiculous 3-5-3 where they're just going to absolutely just destroy people going up and down.
You're exactly right. I mean, with Samaras and having Stokes out injured, Samaras out wide left. I mean, obviously that would give us that threat down the flank where he would run defenders ragged, but we would tend to get a bit one dimensional, and that's where we would see some of the shortcomings. Especially away. If you think back to November and even December, away on some bumpy pitches, where they're just going to pack the box with 10 players. If we're going to be that one dimensional, things get a bit tough. But with Stokes partnering up with Hooper, we have that option of being a bit more direct. And
you know what, Graham? I don't think Neil's worried about being one dimensional. At the end of the game, you end up with 3 strikers on the field.
Right.
I just think he believes he's just going to roll through people. It's like, okay, we're up 2 or 3-0. Let me go ahead and roll the dice here, and they could have had another 2 at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And I just think with that firepower that going through, I mean, they're going to be tough to not blow people away by 35 points at the end of the year. I mean, let's say 30 points at the end of the year if they keep doing what they're doing. And the way Hibbs played today was, oh my God. But anyway, so, watching those 2 snails have sex together on the beach was so exciting.
There's a visual.
Oh God. But anyway, enough of that. On to the Green Brigade, and I know we were in the chat talking about it, but I saw the club's response, and I'm really just interested as to one question as to the police didn't know some of these people were going, or didn't get a chance to actually get to some of these people according to the reports that I read, and also the information that was posted that you had retweeted from the Green Brigade. And I was just wondering if the fan wasn't stopped by the police and they go up to the turnstile and the club has announced to them that they've got a 1-match ban, how could they not be involved?
That's exactly my question.
And how come there's no comment on that?
That's the one question that still hasn't been answered in all this. The club can come out and deny and say we didn't have anything to do with it, but the thing that's left,
we don't know anything about it.
Right. The thing that's still left twisting in all this is how did the Green Brigade member or whoever it is, how did they pick up this ban if the club had nothing to do with it or didn't know anything about it?
I don't know. That's my question. I don't understand what the story is there or how that gets around, because we were chatting before about how going from stadium to stadium, and I'm lucky enough to travel and be able to see stuff all over the place. And I've actually been to matches in Costa Rica. I've been to a World Cup qualifier. I've been to football and soccer here in the U.S. and I've been to matches at Celtic Park. I've been to Ibrox. I've been to Hearts to watch a game there, and it just amazes me the amount of just confrontation that takes place with the police over in the UK.
Well, for ridiculous, for ridiculous reasons. I mean, what you hear about somebody carrying a bottle into the stadium, and you get pulled for that. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like you made a great point in chat. We're talking about people have this assumption that America is some sort of police state. Where that the police just come up to random people, tase the shit out of them, and then lock them up for no reason. When in actual fact, I mean, we would never have these sort of issues. Getting searched, walking around the stadium for no reason whatsoever, unless you're acting like an idiot. drunk off your ass and throwing up on people, you have the right to not be, unreasonably searched. The other thing is you can't get done for singing a song, which I find, beyond interesting. I mean, it's just such a weird concept, and to have you get banned or arrested because you have a banner, depicting a zombie. I mean, it's just like what.
Shooting a dead person is illegal. I don't get that. It was so weird because going over to, when I was in Costa Rica, I saw Costa Rica El Salvador in a World Cup qualifier, and it was just the funniest thing because the Costa Ricans, when the other team would be announced, number 5, for El Salvador, so and so, the whole crowd would just yell "Punta."
Yeah. And they do that after the keeper, after a goal kick, they yell that as well.
Okay, and you're walking around, and I mean, if there's one place that needs to be a police state, it's Costa Rica. They have no army, so that's all they have is the police state.
That's a good point.
There's no police.
Right.
There's no police there. And come on, I don't get it. I don't get it. So,
well, I mean, I think what you have here, it's not hard to put 2 and 2 together. I mean, first off, you don't find, Dundee United supporters or Aberdeen supporters or St Mirren supporters going through this level of scrutiny and hassle. It all essentially has to come down to the Celtic supporters. I mean, everybody heard what was sung at Berwick yesterday, and 3 people were arrested. I mean, if that happened in Celtic Park, there was a planned protest in George Square today where the entire square was circled by unmarked police vans, and there were 30 police officers. And that was because of a Celtic demonstration. So let's not kid ourselves here and call this a generalized sort of behavior. This is the specific targeting of Celtic supporters.
No, it has to be. I mean, I woke up yesterday. I was in Birmingham, Alabama, and I got up and I just, woke up to this Twitter message bomb of, what are they singing down in Berwick? And I was like, okay, I really don't pay attention to those people. So it's, I actually posted in my personal Facebook page that are basically all U.S. people, that had nothing to do with my love for Celtic. It's one of those things I put on there.
The people who aren't ball deep, you would say?
Not my ball deep fans,
right,
everyone else.
Okay.
And just to put up there, because I think a lot of what we deal with as far as not getting U.S. access, that really is the key to a lot of acceptance / cash, is the way Fox Soccer treats the English Premier League.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, walk around, even my son who is a U11 goalkeeper, and he's just like, oh yeah, he's a great Manchester United fan, and this and that other thing, and I don't buy him any Manchester United stuff.
Good man.
That fucking Hun Ferguson. Anyway, so so that was for you, Yampi. Anyway, so but he doesn't know any better. That's like people are, my age, not your age, but my age. Growing up in New Jersey we were Giants fans and Yankee fans, and then everyone's a Cowboys fan because they were the America's team. They were always on TV, and everyone knew who Roger Staubach was, and it just grew from there.
Exactly.
And that's what I see with kids, and especially it burns me when I go to my son's practice and there's 15 different teams practicing out there, all members of the club, and there's kids out there in Chelsea jerseys. I'm like, you don't even understand what their fans are like.
Exactly, and that's so frustrating with that. You see kids running down the street with a Juan Mata jersey, and it's like, and they have like an Irish surname, and it's like, if you only knew what kind of scum, is associated with their support, and what that represents.
They stand for, even one of the coaches in my son's club, he coaches there's a U13 club, a team that he coaches. His friend is one of the assistants or one of the trainers in the youth side over at Rangers, and he wears this training jersey all the time, and I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing. Oh, my friend works for them, so he sent me this. I'm like, take that off. Don't even expose these kids to that crap.
You have to see this, but I'm sorry to interrupt. I just retweeted a picture. Deco just sent me a tweet. You can follow us on BTW Celtic Show. I just retweeted it. It's a picture of Deco hugging a police officer, and he is obviously, clearly pissed. So just to give you an idea of the sort of scenario, and to that point, I mean, at that game, out in the parking lot, there are just I mean, we've gone over this a billion times. There's tour buses just lined up. There's rebel bands going off, and the police are just rolling through on their motorcycles. Somebody put a tricolor on the back of their motorcycle, and they're just driving around. There's just no problem with it. I mean, it's clearly there is a problem with the identity of Celtic Football Club, and we all know what it is and why.
Simple. Anyway, I don't want to take up your whole day, Graham. I'm glad you're back. Glad you had a good time. I'm glad you got to see it. I can't wait to go over. I'm going over for St. Pat's and
have a great time, pal.
For a game and for a wedding. I can't wait. This second time I've been here this year. I was there for the for opening day against Aberdeen and the first Champions League qualifier.
Fantastic.
So I get to go back one more time before the season's over. So
enjoy your trip. Enjoy your trip and safe travels. And forget about where you're going. I need to get down to Myrtle Beach.
Hey, listen, you know what we need to do? We need to set up a BTW golf outing.
There we go. Now this sounds good to me.
Let's do that. Let's pick a weekend in June or July. We'll see if we can get some of the expats to come up or come down, and then we'll see if we can get some actual Scottish people to come over and see if they can if they actually melt in the South Carolina heat as it's 102 with 200% humidity.
Attention, Scottish people, go outside now. Go outside into the boiling heat.
That stuff, the big yellow thing in the sky is the sun.
Don't worry about suntan lotion. The sun won't hurt you.
Yeah, we'll see, do that. I'd love to do that because I know we've talked to a couple different people, and I know that it'd be a blast to get down here. So
that'd be phenomenal. All right, great stuff, pal.
Have fun, man. Take care.
Thanks for calling in.
Bye.
That's Ball Deep. The best CSC name on the face of the earth. No question about it. Myrtle Beach. It's John calling in. Great stuff. Thanks so much for calling in. And I think we'll wrap it up because I think my wife is going to shoot me. Tends to happen at a certain point. I think we're approaching 3 hours. So 3 hours is about the point where she shoots me. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have guns, thankfully. God, can you imagine me? I can't even get on an airplane and go over to Scotland properly. But I digress. 5-0, big game coming up next weekend against St Mirren, the last cup that we're associated with. And I think that Neil Lennon, obviously is taking this very, very seriously, and well, he should be. I mean, the ghosts of Hampden need to be exorcised. So I have full faith that that we'll be able to sort it out. I mean, I'm hopeful that once Sam Russ returns to full fitness, that Stokes won't be dropped, because I think he's an integral part of this side, as was displayed today, in spite of, and I repeat, the fact that he didn't score. But Izagiri returning to form has every bit of influence in it, and I think Joe Ledley's been absolutely outstanding since he's gotten the captain's armband. And I hope that Neil Lennon doesn't deviate like he has a tendency to do and start playing armband roulette, just whoever gets the armband at any point. We need to get bedded in. I think Ledley's the man to do it, and the results speak for that. So 5-0. Thanks so much for listening, and I will do my best to continue to get better this week. But I can't stress this enough. If you haven't listened to the Homeboys podcast with the Green Brigade, please do so. It just may change your perceptions of them, or sort of broaden your understanding. And hopefully it's not the last time that they come out and they make statements like this, so that the general consensus can understand them a bit better. If you'd like to see the leaflet, if you weren't at the game today, but you're interested in hearing about the leaflet, I retweeted it a couple times, or you can go to www.celticjournal.org. And I'm a big fan of their website. I visit their website quite frequently. I think they do good work. They have good articles, and I think it's a nice, clean sort of layout. I think they've written an article, maybe it was a different website that wasn't too kind to me personally, but I'm not 100% sure. I probably shouldn't have said that, but I like, in spite of that, either way, I really like their website, so check it out. They have a copy of the leaflet, exactly what was said on there, so you can get a sense for what that was. And thanks to everybody for calling in as well. And taking us out, as always, is Shane McGowan. and the Pogues. And thank you for listening. I'm gonna have a Gatorade now because I'm a little parched. These antibiotics are drying me out. Hail, hail, and keep the faith. We'll talk to you soon.
The island, it is silent now, but the ghosts still haunt the waves. And a torch lights up a famished man who fortune could not save. Did you work upon the railroads? Did you ride the streets of crime? Were your dollars from the White House? Were they from the 5 and dime? Did the old songs start to cheer you? And did they still make you cry? Did you count the months and years? Or did your teardrops quickly dry? I know that it was not to be on a coffin ship. I came here and I never even got so far that they could change my name. Thousands are sailing across the western ocean to a land of opportunity that some of them will never see. Fortune prevailing across the western ocean, their bellies full, their spirits free. They'll break the chains of poverty and they'll dance. In Manhattan's desert twilight, in the dead of afternoon, we stepped hand in hand on Broadway, like the first man on the moon. And a blackbird broke the silence as you whistled, it's so sweet. And in Brendan Behan's footsteps, I danced up and down the street. And we said goodnight to Broadway, giving it our best regards. Took our hats to Mr. Cohen, dear old Times Square's favorite bird. Then we raised a glass to JFK and a dozen more besides. When I got back to my empty room, I suppose I must have cried. Thousands are sailing again across the ocean with a hand of opportunity. Just tickets in a lottery. Postcards are mailing with skyward skies and oceans, from rooms that daylight never sees, and lights don't glow on Christmas trees. And we dance to the music and we dance. Thousands are sailing across the western ocean with a hand of opportunity. Trust tickets in a